non-magical D&D 5e game. 20, 30, 16.
That's a 23.
I just kind of look at the phone, and then I unplug the phone, because I don't want the phone to ring anymore. As soon as you unplug the landline, your cell phone rings. Hardcore! Just hardcore! Like Olympic level sprinting.
When you're here, your family! Punch it.
It's about 6'5". He's hot. He's hot. Roll insight for me. Oh no, you rolled really high, so I can't be an asshole either. I'm gonna need a decent streak of human armor.
Hello!
Greetings and salutations.
What's the story, Morning Glory? Welcome back. Unless you're new here, in which case, thank you for joining us again. Or new, for the first time. What's up? We are Seraphine, California, Till Death Do Us Party. We are a non-magical D&D 5e actual play group, and we're going to play a game of pretend for you today. This is actually going to be our mid-season finale. What else, housekeeping-wise? We have merch now.
Yeah!
Thanks to actual real-life St. Marie, Morgana, who plays Seraphine. We have super dope shirts. We have one design that's got the names of the party and their tag-alongs, which are Abe and Dinah. And the other is an extremely dope It's Not a Vacation tee. I just want to point out.
It's in a hoodie.
Oh, we also have a hoodie.
Check everything out, guys, and follow us on Instagram. We got merch.
Falling on a budget.
It's dope as hell. We have sweatshirts for Dinah that says this is not a vacation. This is the best.
I cannot
It's
wait to
even
hear
got some cool little like Hawaiian print behind it just for all your not a vacation needs, because it's never a vacation, Dinah. It's never a fucking vacation.
Before we start, I'd actually like to begin with a Latin proverb. The proverb says, affronte precipitium atergo lupi, which herein translates to, a precipice in front, wolves behind. Now,
Don't like that.
when we last left you, the party was in the middle of the Bear Paw Tent Cabin somewhere in Kings Canyon National Park on their continued journey to Whiskeytown to collect the necessary components for a wonder drug that can supposedly save the undoubtedly tortured mind of the Black Mariah, whom they intend to rescue in 2 weeks' time. After the apparent kidnapping of January Flannery Kakoa, the party converged upon the tent cabins in support of the distraught Petrie and found the infamous Dr. Alice Ballard waiting for them with her pack. After a lengthy battle in which Aubergine, Abe, and Dinah acquired some pretty serious injuries, CB's familiar Rivet was able to locate January, who burst out of one of the cabins and attacked Alice in her alpha wolf form. Between January and Dinah, who was still on vacation, Alice was subdued and questioned before the party opted to leave with Dinah, who revealed that along with finding her own sister, she was in California looking for Pretty and Hither Bishop. The younger sisters of famous child actress Bunny Bishop, and more importantly, members of a group of teens believed dead following the executions of their artist parents several years prior. The party took a nano tree to the Convict Flat campgrounds where the party attended to their wounds and settled into rest before their final push to Whiskeytown, which will begin at dawn. On the edge of sleep, Aubergine overheard a conversation between Dinah and some individuals with which she seemed to be involved, drowsily related to Seraphine, and the party had their long rest. We are going to pick up several hours later and see some things that happen while you're still sleeping. The last time that you woke up in the California wilderness, you were in the comfort of the Blight Brigade's treehouse high in the canopy of Sequoia National Forest. When your eyes opened, you were met with the eaved wooden ceiling of the uppermost room, the smell of coffee, and your beds of soft moss. This morning, the fourth morning of your journey, you will awake, maybe 30 minutes before dawn, and for a moment you will be completely disoriented by the sea of cobalt blue with an arterial spray of twinkling white dots you realize dimly are stars. More stars than you've ever seen in your life, blinking out one by one as our closest star climbs closer and closer to the horizon. Abe passed out right where he was with his head in Seraphine's lap. And after all of these years, Seraphine, you know once he's unconscious, he's completely immovable. He's easily 250 pounds of just dead weight. So you just stretched out flat on the ground under him with like one hand on his shoulder and the Pink Ranger tucked in your pocket, but with her head peeking out so she could see. As you went to sleep, you could swear that her eyes flashed pink, but when you looked back, they were dim and they were hard to find in a low light. Aubergine, you are stretched out flat on the ground with your head pillowed on your backpack and one arm protecting your injured midsection. And I imagine that CB is curled up very tightly on his side, and at some point in the night, Ribbit came back and climbed on top of him to keep watch.
Just
like,
Yeah, just kind of sitting on top of your midsection. His eyes are dimmed, but his ears are perked up and rotating occasionally, like satellite dishes. Before we proceed, Aubergine, what did you dream about last night?
I was at a party at the Hollywood Hills, and it was, like a dream of the old days.
CB, what did you dream about last night?
Wolves. Just
wolves
that turned into dreadnoughts and back, and the alpha was Jim.
Seraphine?
I had a war flashback in my dream. It was back to that same dream I had the night that we had the collective dream. Abe was yelling, but I kept seeing little pink pterodactyls flying around, and they kept dive bombing the scene, so I couldn't get to him. It was stressful.
On brand. Okay. The Blight Brigade have kind of arranged themselves in like a similarly haphazard fashion, but notably have dispersed themselves around your little group, as there are quite a few more. When you wake, you will hear the rustle of the wind through the ring of trees that surrounds this meadow, the distant and impossible call of birdsong, and somewhere just beyond where you are all sleeping, you'll hear something else. Really quickly, I'm going to have all of you just roll a d20 for me and tell me what you get.
I want to change my dream because everybody else had better dreams, by the way.
Okay. You'll remember it more as you wake.
Yeah. I was at that party in the Hollywood Hills, and I was looking for the Black Mariah and for Drew, and I just kept opening doors, and they weren't there, and I just kept getting distracted, and then I'd be like, no, wait, I'm looking for somebody.
Perfect, delicious.
Hey.
Damn. Okay.
This is a group effort.
I was not expecting anyone to roll a nat 20 this early in the day. All right.
It's gonna be a good game, guys.
This actually tracks. You are just coming. It was perception as you are waking up to focus your hearing or your sight to hear a sound or see what's going on. And this is what you hear on a nat 20. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. About 100 yards from where the rest of you are sleeping, Dinah is sparring with January in the very early dawn light before everyone wakes. She's got a book with the cover folded back in her right hand that's raised to eye level, and the butt end of her knife is raised in her left, and it looks like she just knocked January on her ass. She shoves the book in her back pocket and helps her up and says, "Don't let me lead you, Buttercup. If I'm leading you, that means you're fighting me on my terms and my specialty, and that's not a fight you're going to win. So, let's do it again. And this time, watch your feet, all right? When I step, you step in time with me, and you force that distance between us so I can't work my way in close. Do it again." A silent January nods, and her hair is matted to her face with sweat. She drops into a defensive position. Dinah takes her book back out and turns her left side to January with the butt end of her knife extended so the flat of the blade is pressed against her arm. And she counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Her eyes are still on the book, but as she counts, she moves her feet into different positions while blocking January's attempts to strike her, allowing her to follow. Good. Okay, now let's do it in real time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the 5 count, January lunges forward and Dinah hooks her foot behind January's and sends her flying backward. She catches her by one of her waving hands right before she hits the ground, pulls her back to her feet and says, "Don't telegraph your movements to me either. It gives me a chance to work out what to do before you get to me." She dusts her off and kind of considers her for a second. "I know. You're getting focused on watching my feet, and what you need to focus on is the rhythm. You remember that waltz you did with your daddy when Laura told her story? You weren't watching your feet, you were following your partner's lead. Do you know what a pas de deux is? It means step for two. You and the person you're fighting are in a dance, and if you watch them instead of your feet, you can anticipate where they're going to go. Let's try it one more time, and then we'll give it a rest, okay?" This time, January strikes on the 2 count, and she tackles Dinah. She just barrels right into her midsection and takes her to the ground. Dinah gets past her guard and folds her up like a pretzel. January does tap, but when she releases her and she kind of stands her up to make sure no real damage was done, January's grinning. "That's the energy I like to see, kid. Press the attack. Make them defend. Make it inconvenient for them to keep up the fight. Good girl." Claps a hand on the back of her neck and kind of squeezes, and it's a long moment before January moves, but when she does, there's a huge shit-eating grin on her face. "Okay, your mom's gonna be up soon if she ain't already, so why don't you go see if she needs help with breakfast? Prithee, hither. I'm just gonna check on the others and change and wash some of the grime off before I touch any of the food. You're okay with BD for a few minutes?" Seraphine, you realize the 2 girls are sitting about 15 feet to the left of Dinah and January. They're wearing different clothes than they were last night. And Hither's face, which was last sticky with Bee's personal honey reserve, is much less swollen and beginning to bruise down to purple and black, as if the healing has been accelerated greatly. Prithee rolls her eyes and she says, "We've done just fine on our own, thanks." And Hither puts a hand on her arm to stop her, stands up, stretches and kind of looks at Dinah and the empty space next to her. And then she gives just the ghost of a smile and waves at the empty space. And she nods. "I like the cut of your jib, little bishop. You need anything, you let BD know." Dinah looks past January and squints for a second before she turns and starts heading back with a sweaty, contemplative January toward the main group of you, many of whom are beginning to stir now, aside from Seraphine. She stops on the edge of the clearing and digs in her backpack and grabs a bottle of water, and then she comes to crouch next to Seraphine. Seraphine, would you please roll me a dex save to avoid your sister who is preparing to fuck with you?
Not in the mood for this shit. Just woke up. 19.
Okay, on a 19, Dinah goes to tip the water bottle over your face, and your hand shoots up with your eyes still closed and just grabs her wrist in a death grip. And she goes, "Good morning."
Hello.
What? Okay, listen.
What the fuck do you think you're doing?
Why are you screaming? People are sleeping.
I'm not
listen,
screaming.
It's okay. Admittedly, mistakes were made.
Yeah, I'll say.
It's gonna be time to go soon, lazy bones. Get up. Get up. Get you some oatmeal. You gotta get lots of walking energy.
We're not gonna let this slide. I hope you know that. This is an act of war.
And Dinah pulls her wrist free and looks at you and says, I expect nothing less.
Be on your guard. It may not be today or tomorrow or even the day after that because we got things to do. And I'm still half asleep, just kind of coming out of it. And the soreness from the previous day setting in, so I'm really not about the bullshit today. We're gonna come back to this, Dinah. We're gonna come back to this.
Rouse young Abernathy. He's gonna need to eat his hungry man serving too.
Leave young Abernathy alone. He had a rough day yesterday.
So everyone is waking up now because of this bullshit. Aubergine and CB, you wake up and you see this exchange between Seraphine and Dinah, and Dinah getting up and kind of like massaging her wrist a little bit. No remorse on her face whatsoever. And this is the scene you wake up to. Petrie is getting up, and January has come over and is starting to help her and Micah prepare breakfast. And the day has begun with chaos.
Kind of nudge Abe, like, hey, bud, you gotta get up now. Hey, bud. Mr. Bear, are you awake?
Mr. Bear is not awake, and I would prefer to remain that way.
Listen, bud, I know you would, but we gotta get up and make tracks and eat some breakfast. So, Dinah tried to assault me in my sleep, so there's that.
What? Abe fully wakes up and sits up.
Yeah, so if you don't get up, it's probably gonna... Oh, just Dinah.
Oh, Jesus.
Dinah tried to assault me in her sleep, but it was just water. However, I have a feeling she's gonna come back and do it to you because you're injured, like a wounded animal. So you're prey now. I'm sorry. So it's either get up or I'm pretty sure she's gonna come back and try it on you. And you're not as fast as me these days, you know, on account of you got your side, you know, chewed out.
Yeah, they added about 40 pounds of metal to my body, so I'm a little heavier and a little less aerodynamic, Seraph.
Yeah, you're not as spry in your old age, Abe.
He pulls himself up off the ground and puts out a hand to pull you up too, because he knows he knows that's what you're waiting for. And as he yanks you to your feet, he just turns his head to Dinah and says, I can't stand your ass. She says, I don't know. Good morning, Abernathy.
Dinah, please let this man live today, okay?
Actually, Abe, as he's like standing and kind of stretching, he stretches his arm. And it's like he remembers that he shouldn't do that. And kind of looks at his arm. And he starts undoing the bandages on his arm.
Well, maybe don't look at that.
No, hold on. And once he gets the bandage off, the wound is clean. And it doesn't look very much like a wound anymore. It looks more like a shiny new scar. The only thing that's really there under the bandage anymore is the scar tissue of 4 massive claws and a thin coating of honey left over from the night before.
Huh. You don't say.
Abe looks at you, Aubergine.
Don't look at me for this. I didn't do this.
Aubergine.
Oh.
He says, I don't want to tell you how to start your morning off, but you might want to see your wounds real quick.
I sit up and I undo the wrap around my midsection and I look at it. What do I see?
It's the same thing, and everyone can see it too from where you are. It's still sticky. There's a little bit of grime, some dirt that's gotten under like the very lip of the bandaging that you put on. But really what you have is almost like a shark bite on your side now. It's just a row of teeth on either side of your midsection.
I look at it and I laugh and I say 2 things. First, I look at CB and I go, ha, now I'm the sticky one. And I look back down at the scar and I like kind of say to nobody, I'm like, Drew would think this is so fucking cool, man.
I think so. Stevie.
Seraphine just sees the Mars and she's like, "Why the fuck do you have gills?
So I've got my head.
Why do you have gills now?"
I've got my
I got my
head
head
right
right up, just staring at Aubergine.
And
And then I turn and I look at Rivet.
I'm like,
I'm like,
am I
am I allowed to get up now?
Can
Can I?
But
Rivet makes a noise you haven't heard before, but you get the distinct sense that it's one of displeasure. And he kind of like wiggles down. And like huffs.
thanks, bud.
But
And then I get up and stretch. And in my head, I'm kind of annoyed that I woke up after sunrise. Because
that's not what I wanted.
It is not quite sunrise yet.
Oh, is it
Actually.
not? Okay,
It is
just-
still like very, very early dawn.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
Never mind. Let's
Scratch that last.
Yeah, so Rivet is annoyed and like kind of like weaves in and out of your legs the way that cats do when they want you to pay attention to them to make it difficult for you to walk as you kind of like proceed further into the group.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
He's annoyed that his slumber and his vigil was interrupted.
I scoop him up and just throw him on my shoulder and just keep walking.
All right.
He settles down at that
I
point.
thought you were throwing behind you. I was like, Stevie, fuck.
After seeing your and Abe's healed wounds, Privy and Hither kind of put two together as far as Hither's face and all of for these lash wounds. Just as you guys are kind of like settling into your morning, Elsewhere gets up and he comes over to you and Abe and he says, "Just in case." And he hands you each a hypodermic syringe. It's filled with liquid, and he says, "It's a rabies shot. You don't have to take it, but I can tell you that it works, and I would like you to have it just in case." It's the most you have ever heard Elsewhere speak.
I take it from him, and like I don't think he's ready for a hug, so I do like the hand hug thing, you know, like put both of my hands around his hand appreciatively.
And he just nods very respectfully and looks at Abe and nods. And Abe considers him for a long moment, and you can watch his eyes tracking, kind of looking at the scars on Elsewhere's face. And then he takes the syringe.
I look at Seraphine and I go, "You used to be a nurse, yeah?"
Among other things. Why? What's up?
I toss her one of the syringes and then I like pull down my pants so she can shoot it in my butt.
Come here. Turn around.
I sheepishly turn in the opposite direction.
Abe has no fucking shame and also drops trow. And everyone's just like, "Good morning."
There are is in my face this morning, guys. Come here. So I go over to Aubergine and can I at least have like some iodine or an alcohol wipe or something to at least give the illusion of a medical setting?
A really ugly horse laugh coming from behind you, and it's Petrie, who is holding like a bowl of oatmeal and just watching this. She's kind of like, Petrie is laughing so hard that though she's facing you parallel, she has kind of become concave in the other direction. And she says, okay. Can we get Seraphine a kit, please? Before this morning gets any stranger.
And then and then I think to myself, as I feel the Power Ranger get hot in my pocket, I'm like, if I pull this Power Ranger out and she's bent over, I'm just gonna walk off this entire mission and I'm gonna go home. I don't care what happens to any of you at this point. Blood relatives included. I don't care.
The Power Ranger begins to get cooler.
Thank you.
As you're thinking this.
Tone it down. We have things to do, okay? No, you don't need a shot. You weren't injured. You didn't even do anything.
So you were a field medic. I'm not going to make you roll to give somebody a shot, especially because you're not trying to tap a vein. You're literally just jabbing them with it. So it's over very quickly, luckily for you.
And no, I don't have my
I
lollipops.
went from the 90s.
Petrie and elsewhere do get you a medical kit so you're able to do everything, safely. You say, I don't have any lollipops. And Dinah says, I do. BD. And the backpack comes
Surprised that
hovering
Dinah
over.
and BB have a stash of lollipops.
She digs in her backpack and she has like a bunch of, they look kind of like Tootsie Pops, but you know that they're, the center is Blackwater Taffy. It's sold at the Monoxide Street Confectionery in Bella Muerte. And she has like a stupid amount of them and just kind of offers the bag.
Well, take one.
Take one.
Neither one of you tried. So you both get one. Abe, 2. No, 1. Sorry, 1. Abe, 1. No.
Abe, you can have 2. You can have 2. It's okay. You can have...
Well, you guys did get mauled yesterday. I guess you guys can both have 2. You guys can both have 2. Anybody else want one?
My arm shoots straight up.
Oh yeah, Dinah grabs like a handful out of the bag and just deposits them like into your hands.
In the jacket pocket, and then just.
She tosses a handful to Prithee and Hither, who like aren't prepared for the fucking magic missile spell that's coming their way. So they do miss a lot of them, but Prithee and Hither each manage to catch one, and Prithee kind of turns and considers Dinah and is smiling in spite of herself. Dinah jams everything back in her backpack, and she says, look, here's the deal. I'm still wearing yesterday's blood, so I'm gonna go take a sinner's bath in the woods. Please, nobody get lost or kidnapped for like 10 minutes. Are we
That
good?
includes you. Okay.
I'll be right back. As you're administering the shots and Dinah is grabbing her bag and heading just right off to the tree line, pretty close to where you guys are, Prithee and Hither come up to Elsewhere, and Prithee says, you wouldn't happen to have 2 more of those, would you? And Elsewhere looks at her. He looks down at her, although she is very tall, and says, no, but I do have something else for you. And he pulls a case out of his front right pocket. It's a slim black case with like a silver latch on it, and he opens it, and there are a series of much smaller syringes with a substance inside that looks kind of like snake venom or tea with too much cream in it. It's like a watery, lightweight consistency, but it does look a little bit thick for an injection. And he holds Prithee's eyes and he says, if you've been in Alice Pack, then this is the only thing that will treat what ails you. I'd take regular doses of it.
Can I ask?
I'm sorry, who's speaking? Abe?
Elsewhere.
Elsewhere. Thank you.
Mr. Ware.
Yeah, Mr. Ware. I take regular doses of it. I didn't make it. I consulted on it, but there's a fine group of people who are waiting for you back home who put a lot of research into this once they found out what Alice was up to and where you might be. So technically, these are yours anyway. Prithee just kind of looks surprised by the kindness. Hither kind of squeezes her hand and nods, and she still has not spoken, by the way, and takes the case from Elsewhere. And she does the same thing that Aubergine did and kind of just folds his hands in hers and squeezes, and then tucks it away in the pocket of the fresh pair of jeans that she's wearing. The last you see of Dinah while this is going on is just like her little rainbow leopard Jansport backpack trailing behind her. She slips into the trees, like right between where the stag and the elk from the night before are still holding vigil. But you get the sense she's not going far. Is there anything that you all would like to do while you wait for Dinah?
I'd like to eat some breakfast. It'd make Abe eat some breakfast too, so.
Bloom Jr. eats 3 enormous bowls of rough cut oatmeal. Just without, like, it's almost like he's protecting his food back in boot camp, just shoveling it into his face. He does not speak. He just inhales and sheepishly goes back to Petrie every time he wants a fresh bowl, and she just keeps dumping it into his bowl.
The best part, Abe doesn't even fucking like oatmeal.
Abe hates oatmeal. He cannot stand the consistency.
He thinks I'm disgusting for eating it. I love oatmeal. Not 3 bowls worth of oatmeal in one sitting, mind you, but I do enjoy a bowl of oatmeal. Abernathy Bloom thinks I'm disgusting, but here he is eating 3 bowls.
It was, listen, for oatmeal, it was delicious thanks to Petrie, but it was still oatmeal. Okay.
You like oatmeal, don't you, Squidward?
Get away from me. Get away from me.
You like Krabby Patties, don't you, Squidward?
I'm tired of you. I'm tired. You know what? I'm going home. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home right now. I'm gonna turn around.
Okay, bye.
Later. He doesn't get up. He doesn't go anywhere.
What's
His eyes.
What?
Yeah, he's just. It's a very fuck you, I'll see you tomorrow kind of interaction. So you guys do sit down. September starts a very small fire in the early light, just to kind of warm your hands and sort of get everybody on the same page. It's oatmeal, there's fresh water, and like a Seraphine, they remind you kind of choke cherries. You're not sure what the berries are, but they're very, very tart, and they're just a really, really nice complement to the oatmeal and surprisingly filling. Is there anything anyone else would like to do?
Aubergine eats breakfast and then does her skincare routine for the usual.
Gotta get that in. While you are eating, a little ways away in the forest, just beyond the tree line, Dinah does begin to rinse herself off with like a bottle of water, using her now ruined Hawaiian shirt as a towel to mop up. She's midway through
You get when you wear Hawaiian shirts to work.
Unless it's Trader Joe's.
That's true.
Or Tommy Bahama.
True. Also true. She's midway through changing out of her like torn, bloody clothes from the day before when she stiffens, straightens, and turns around, and she squints behind her where the rider is now standing, with one hand on the side of the great black beast that he travels in the company of. And Dinah puts her hand on her waist where she keeps her knife holstered and says, "You've been following us." No shit. Yeah. For like a long time, actually. Do I need to kill you? I mean, I would prefer that you didn't. I was actually thinking that we could have tea and a chat. You could call it a business discussion if you like. What kind of tea is it? That's the part that matters? That's absolutely the part that matters. What kind of tea is it? Because if it's the one that's got the bird, if it's Earl Grey, I'm out. I have other teas.
Priorities.
No, if you got other teas, you got 10 minutes. And he says, okay, it's just over here. And we are going to catch back up with the group in real time. Back at camp, Dinah comes out of the woods 10 minutes later. You guys have finished eating. You are putting away your bowls, whatever kind of tin mess kits you might have with you. Dinah's clean. Her hair is now up in a side ponytail, which it has not been this entire time. And she's wearing what looks like a tack suit, but it glitters kind of like black opal when the sun hits it. She's got on matching combat boots. And she is now carrying a lot of weapons. She has her knife on her hip. There's a matching small blade, but it's curved like a hand scythe. She's got a small hatchet. She has a karambit. She's got little containers and pouches on her hip. Her shotgun is stowed on her back, and she has a length of rainbow rope coiled on her hip. She comes up, and she says, well, that worked out well. Ready to go?
I look at her, and Aubergine looks at her and immediately goes, we like a dramatic costume change.
What I wear to work. And since I'm no longer on vacation, I'm not getting got by Alice Ballard again.
Fair enough.
CB's
been
ready.
He actually, his
Denim jacket has detachable sleeves, and he knew it was going to be a long, hot walk, so he threw those sleeves in his backpack, and now he's just wearing a white denim vest over his backpack.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys get all of your gear. You kind of coalesce in the very center of where the now burned out fire is. Petrie holds out her hand flat, and she wiggles her fingers, and a small projection pops out of the diamond on her wedding band. It's a topographical display of the region for about 60 miles in every direction, and it's rendered as clearly as if it were the place itself. She uses her free hand to kind of pinch and zoom, and zooms into like a glowing green dot that hovers near a floating header that says Bearpaw Tent Camp. Think. 12 hours if we cut straight through the pass. August blanches just a little bit, and January wiggles her fingers at him from his side, and both of their parents roll their eyes. Yes, that means we will be cutting through Donner Pass, and no, August, that does not mean we are going to be confronted by cannibal ghosts, no matter what your sister says. She, smacks September on the chest with the back of her hand and says, "Nine, my darling love and grown adult husband, would you please tell our youngest that he's not going to be eaten by ghosts, because that's absurd, because everyone knows spectral creatures can't interact with the physical world." I'm not having the ghost conversation with you again, Pete. I'm not falling for this again. Spawn, I threatened to leave you here in the woods, but knowing you two, you'd get there before we did anyway. So how about you two do Mom and I solve and lead the way? Stay close. Your mom will feel better, and so will August, because the cannibal ghost that absolutely exists won't be able to get him. Petrie sighs very deeply as she sighs as September and January, who are both grinning, very covertly high-five each other behind their backs. And she closes the map. Get to the goddamned road, all of you, now, or I'm gonna get you. The Flannery Kakoas jostling and kind of swatting at each other, though they may be, lead you out of the clearing and back into the tree line, where the animals that mysteriously appeared the day before and held vigil for you throughout the night are now gone. It's not a terribly long trip back to the road. About 20 minutes later, the gaggle of you come spilling out of the trees and onto a paved, desolate highway that stretches into the mountains as far as you can see. Well, I know things about ghosts, chat.
You don't know anything about ghosts. You don't know anything about ghosts. I'm telling you, you know nothing about ghosts.
Go to hell. I'm not taking this slander. Not in real time. As you all kind of step out onto the road, Petrie says, "Well, here's our path, friends. We're in for a long day, so we'd better get to it." The sun is just beginning to come up as you set off north toward the mountains. And from your relative altitude and positioning, you have a front row view for the show. The sun blasts its way over the horizon line, the bruised purple of the fading night giving way first to periwinkle pre-dawn, and then to a pyroclastic surge of color. Golds and oranges and reds, or streaks of pink and peach, and all of it rises up around you in 360-degree IMAX. The first 3 hours of the walk go smoothly, if not quickly. Would everyone please roll me a perception check, real quick?
18.
Okay, 18?
I got 12.
12?
13.
13. Okay, so CB, Dinah has been walking in the middle with BD and the Bishop sisters. She's on their right side next to Hither, and you can tell from the steady movement of her rainbow backpack, which is now hovering somewhere equivalent to Abe's shoulder height with the straps facing outward in the direction that you're headed, like someone is wearing it.
Like BD is wearing it or carrying it? How tall is BD? I thought he was tall.
Yeah, he's about the bags of where Abe's shoulders are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a good 6 feet off the ground, hovering
I
steadily.
forgot that Abe is also massive.
Abe is a giant corn-fed man.
I forgot he is also quite large.
They're being flanked. You can tell they're being flanked by BT on the other side.
Yep.
More often than not, Dinah is walking backward to face you guys. Never looks behind her or checks her footing. Does fall several times. Does not change her plan at all. She's in the midst of explaining about this thing she heard about during her travels called spaghetti al oh no, which is the apparent marination of sour gummy candy in an energy drink and subsequent drinking of the entire mistake. So only CB has tuned out enough of what she is saying to hear this. Circuit board. Someone is singing. High and clear and carried by the morning air. A sweet but plaintive voice is singing. It sounds like something that Seraphine would play. Something about a widowed bride and the day the music died. At first, you assume it's Aubergine singing to herself to make the time pass. It takes you a moment to pinpoint the sound because most of you have never heard it before now. It's the voice of Hither Bishop, with a heart-shaped face and perfectly symmetrical dimples somewhere under the soft tissue damage.
She's the youngest bishop, right?
Mm-hmm. And she also has not spoken since you found her the day before. She keeps her eyes straight forward as she walks, and after a moment, Prithee slips her hand into her sister's and holds her eyes for a minute and nods. And as Hither starts to sing the next line of the song, the voice doubles over on itself and distorts as Prithee joins her sister. Her voice is raspy, like it hasn't been used in a while, but strong and proud and loud. Loud enough that Hither has to be louder to be heard as well. And the two of them have a death grip on each other's hands as they march forward and out of your little formation.
Can I ask a question of Mazz?
Yes.
They're saying American Pie.
Yes.
Would I know that because Seraphine would play it?
I don't know how well you would know the song itself, but you would recognize it.
Cool.
Somewhere between "This Will Be the Day That I Die" and "If the Bible Tells You So," the song changes from something of grief to something of joy. The sodden march turns into a half skip, turns into a run. The two of them push completely from the formation, and now they are screaming at the top of their lungs. Their voices blended and echoing in the high hills. And you, from your distance, CB, can't tell if they're laughing or crying. But it's the single most honest thing you've seen in a very long time. You are looking at two people who are hopelessly ripped open and trying to sew themselves back together right in front of you. And as Prithee loops her arm around Hither's shoulders and swings her around, she catches your eye, Aubergine. You don't know this woman from Adam, but you see Bunny in her smile, and more importantly, you see their mother in the challenge in her eyes. She extends a hand, and Aubergine, I would like you to roll perception for me to try and hear the third part of the harmony and performance to join them.
Is that perception or performance?
Both.
That's going to be a 21 on perception and that's a 26 on performance.
Hell yeah.
I'd like everyone to know that the die that I rolled a little while ago was the performance check for Prithee and Hither Bishop to see what this was going to sound like. The Lost Bishop girls of Beltsville Holler rolled a 31 on their performance check.
Yeah.
For the rest of you, for Aubergine rather, it's the first time that you have sung with anyone in about 10 years. At first, you worry that you're out of practice, and as you inhale to sing the first few notes, you feel your lungs creaking in your chest like a rusted bellows expanding. But with every step and the cool, rough grip on your hand, you shake a little more of the dust off. You remember with startling clarity, given the deterioration of your memory in particular, being 14 and wearing drugstore makeup that you applied in Vigil's bedroom but would definitely scrub off before you got home. In that roomy old McMansion she lived in before the Gallows family bought the house, and her playing a simple but pretty melody on the white baby grand in the foyer. You remember feeling that thing that happens when you vibrate on the same wavelength as another artist, that spark of creation, and opening your mouth to sing. The two of you staring at each other over the top of the piano, you following her tempo and her following your runs on the melody, dialed into that divine moment when basic components turn into something. When you went home that night, the melody followed you into your house, up to the bathroom to scrub the makeup off, and into your bedroom where you picked up your guitar. A year later, Drop Like Confetti will get played on the local radio in Ceasefire. It'll get picked up by some industry person just passing through on the way to somewhere bigger and better, and it will change your life. The rest of you, this is the first time you hear the fullness of Aubergine's voice in person. You watch the years and the grief and the pain slough away from her, and there, on a 2-lane highway in the middle of nowhere, you see the star that was superimposed on top of the survivor that is, like a double exposure. The song only lasts a few minutes. They don't sing all, 19 verses. Thanks, Don McLean.
And there's a hidden verse.
That's what I'm including that in the 19. But each of you feels like a little bit of weight has been lifted from you somehow, even if it wasn't one that you realized you were carrying. Your shoulders have relaxed a little. You fully left sleep in your wake, and the horror of Bear Paw tent cabins, Alice Ballard, and the pack seems distant. No more than the last vestiges of a bad dream that fades the more you try to recall it. Prithee squeezes your hand, Aubergine, and says, I remember you. You never did get to meet our little sister, did you? It comes out of Prithee a little shaky, and she swallows like she is trying to stomp down on something. And she grins brightly, and she bumps Hither with her hip and says, Miss Hither Elizabeth Bishop. For her part, Hither just smiles, and her lips a little bloody where it's split back open from smiling, holds out her hand and says, I'm a real big fan.
Oh, I take her hand and I shake it. I'm delighted to meet you, darling.
They wouldn't let me come to the party last time, so I didn't get to meet you, so I'm glad it finally happened. This is not at all how I expected that it would happen, but the Lord works in mysterious ways, so it's nice to meet you. Eventually, the talk fades, though not uncomfortably. It's more just that the concept of walking across California lengthwise begins to sink in. So you set your minds to the task at hand, and this time no scouts are sent out. Elsewhere, and Birdie kind of orbit the edges of the group and are occasionally relieved by Dinah, but everyone stays within eyesight at all times. January is carrying her crossbow now, tends to fire, but otherwise seems to be kind of enjoying the impromptu family vacation. By the time the sun is high enough overhead that you start to feel its presence with some persistence, the centralmost peak of the Sierra Nevada mountain range has grown from a small dot on the horizon in front of you to a dominant feature of the landscape. Terrain begins to get notably steeper while the road, remote and untended for at least a decade, becomes gradually more coated in loose, shifting gravel that must have come down from the high hills. You're in true mountain country now and pushing on steadily. Can I get everyone to give me a DC 10 Constitution check to see how you're doing?
15.
What's my modifier?
15.
You guys?
Okay, so 15, 15, and 4.
No, that was when I rolled the D10, and if you're going to be gracious and let me stick with that, I would prefer it, because I definitely rolled a no good bad with my D20.
Oh,
No good, bad.
I will
Let you stick with that.
All right,
because
thanks.
of the confusion. I'll let you stick with that. I will say on a 4, you were planning on going out, but you were not planning on doing all this walking. You were told there would be a vehicle. So you brought shoes for the aesthetic, but not necessarily for hiking. They're lower key than the shoes that you normally wear. They're like platform, I think like platform sneakers probably, right?
Yeah, that's how that checks.
Yeah. So you're wearing they're comfy for standing in one place, but the walking and the shifting and the strain that you were putting your feet under, these shoes are not for this. So your feet begin to hurt about an hour into the walk, and it is a noticeable discomfort. Do you want to change shoes, or are you going to stay with the aesthetic?
I would say if Aubergine doesn't have shoes because Seraphine prepares and Seraphine has other shoes, Aubergine, I could definitely loan you a pair out of my rucksack because I'm just wearing boots. I don't need to wear I'm just wearing my chucks right now since we're just walking.
I definitely give it a change shoes. I'm giving it a changing shoes.
Okay. So I reach into my bag, I kind of kneel down on the ground for a second, dig around a little bit, and I find a pair of tennis shoes. Like, all right, so we should be about the same size. If not, we're just walking. Like, you can put your little rock star shoes back on when we get to where we're going, but this is just for walking's sake, so I don't have to carry you. Because as we're standing right now, I'm probably going to have to end up carrying you in a few miles.
I mean, yeah, so get ready for it. You better stretch your back.
Well, here are the shoes, Seraphine. I just have her hand Aubergine this little, like, these tennis shoes that I had in my bag.
I sit down on the ground, little kid style, like butt on the ground, changing shoes.
The whole caravan stops and is happy to wait.
I'm just sitting there on one knee, like, knelt down next to my bag, just, like, putting stuff back in and watching her, like, are you okay, bud? Are the laces okay? Do they fit? Reach over,
we're making it work.
Like, toe of the shoe test that, like, parents do, think they used to pay less. I kind of, like, squeeze the toe of the shoe, like, all right, cool. So, all right, do they fit? Do they feel good?
All right, yep, we're good. We're good.
All
Let's
right.
keep going.
All right, let's go. Pat her leg. All right, come on, champ, let's go.
His mom senses start tingling like in the early midday, so probably like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. She tasks Micah and B with handing out rations of beef jerky, rough brown bread, and insanely cold alpine water. You guys have a little bit of a break here to scarf down your food. Is there anyone you want to talk to, or anything that you'd like to do on your little break, your little snack break?
I would like to note that we're all sitting down little kid style thanks to Aubergine's example a few seconds ago. She's putting the shoes on. But I would like to eat a little bit, but make sure Abe eats, make sure Dinah eats, and kind of check on everyone's wounds a little bit to see, like, if everyone's still healing okay, if everyone is feeling strong enough to keep going. Is everyone okay? Is everyone good?
I have made a makeshift sandwich out of my beef jerky and my brown bread, and I just give a thumbs up as I chew through this.
Seraphine does the mother of God thing with her sunglasses just inspired. Take the glasses off, puts them back on, and starts to put her jerky
sandwich together.
Yeah, a little jerky bread sandwich together. Good looking out, Aubergine.
I think while we're chilling, I want to see if I can find any other information about the Canary of Belleville.
Okay. Roll me. How are you going about getting that information?
I'm just looking on the web on the anything like if I maybe try to find information through the bureau, and I also ask
Desta?
Thank you. I asked his information, but I think I'm definitely hacking. I assume the bureau has all of the information on everything, so.
Roll me. No, it's gotta be hard.
Yeah.
Roll me a DC 20 investigation check.
Everybody?
Nope, just EB.
18? I got so close.
You get pretty deep into the bureau system without being detected. It's old hat for you by now. It's not so much that you don't find any information. It's that most of it is heavily redacted, like even in the bureau's files. I'll say on an 18, you get a couple of words. You get Confederacy. You also get a list of names. In searching for the Canary of Beltsville Holler, you get a list of names, and on that list of names are Prithee and Hither Bishop's names.
Okay. Any other names I recognize?
There are several other names, and I'm going to go through them slow because I named them like I do name them. So
okay.
The remaining names on the list are Onassis Bone, Solace Bone, Gotham Bone,
Excellent.
Enoch Pharaoh, Esmond Pharaoh, Millicent Dune, and Latham Dune.
D-U-N-E?
Yes. CB, looking at this list, you are able to probe a little bit further. Even on an 18, you are able to find what this list pertains to. It pertains to the Beltsville Nine, who, according to this document, have been missing since sometime in October of 2010. They are the descendants of the original Confederacy of Violent Delight, who were put to death 4 years earlier. On this list of names, which you pulled from the Bureau's database, all of these names are listed as deceased. So that's what you get on an 18.
Cool. Thank you. I think I immediately send that to Jessica.
Okay. Do you just send the list and the information to Desta, or because you had already messaged her asking her to like help you dig, right?
Yeah, I think what I say is I say, hey, I did some more digging on the Canary. This is what I found so far, and I sent her the list. Hopefully we can pile up mutual information, and then I also sent it to Aubergine's compact.
You get a phone call or a video call from Desta. She, for the first time since you have met her, looks stressed out.
Hey, are you okay? What? Are you okay? You're not okay.
Circuit board, I'm going to ask you what seems like a vague question, but is a very important question. Who the fuck are you hanging out with in those woods? Because I went looking for your canary. And, I think I'm going to be sick. Someone hacked into my system.
What?
Don't make me repeat it. The taste in my mouth is awful.
Okay.
Do you remember how we met?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm not the only one who
Flashbacks.
knows that trick.
So I tell her everything.
I was asked politely but firmly to stay out of the Canary's business. So,
Okay.
whoever it is that you have befriended that has raised these questions had interesting friends.
Well, I met two of the bishops from those bishops, and I tell her everything that happened.
Desta does not look surprised by the mention of the bishops or the fact that they're alive.
I definitely tell her about the wolves.
Well, good job. Especially using Rivet as an extension of yourself. Your machine should always be an extension of yourself. I would love to continue showering you with the praise that you well deserve, but I have to go gut everything I've ever built.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, and also that's terrifying. But you don't need to hear me say that because this is your system.
I'm not terrified. I'm impressed.
Honestly, same. So let me know if you need anything. And also, if I shouldn't reach out to you for a little bit.
No,
Okay.
that'll be fine. It wasn't a threat.
Okay.
I should be clear. It was a very polite message. It was literally what I said. I was asked politely but firmly to stay out of the Canary's business. There were no threats made.
That's
The fact that they were able to get into my system is a threat enough.
That's wild. That's wild. Okay, well, thank you for letting me know, and I will also keep you posted.
Be careful out there, and I will see you in a few days.
Yes, ma'am.
She abruptly hangs up the phone, and the last thing you hear is her sighing just so heavily, and it's just this noise of deep frustration. Is there anything anyone else would like to do? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me run that scene.
So you guys, you start getting ready to go and continue on with your journey. Seraphine, Abe does come over to you with his rucksack over one shoulder, and he physically removes your pack from your bag and goes through it.
Hey, rude. What are you looking for? What are you doing in my stuff?
Excuse you. You realize that he is taking the heaviest items out of it and putting them into his own bag, except for the St. Marie Family Bible. And he closes his bag, and he closes your bag, and he puts it back on you, and he just looks at you.
Oh, well.
You ready to go?
You know, no one likes a smartass, Abernathy, okay? Thank you for...
You are surrounded by them. You surround yourself with them. I would argue that you love a smartass.
Thank you, wise ass, for divesting me of the heaviest items in my pack.
You're welcome. Walk in front of me.
Did you eat something?
I ate plenty. I'm fine.
Well, yeah, you had about 16 bowls of oatmeal this morning. I'm not surprised you're...
Well, we needed the energy. So, continuing north. You find yourself still on the road, but in the foothills of the peak, which are covered in these towering oak trees on either side of the road. The elevation hikes up again, and even though the hills are green and teeming with life in this very undisturbed place, and it's only the middle of May, you can now feel the air getting crisp with the promise of a long-off winter. You have been hiking for many hours now in the same direction, probably close to about 10 hours. Give me another constitution check. This time the DC is going to be 15.
Oof, okay. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, I rolled an 8.
Okay.
Not doing well.
I got a 10.
12.
Honestly, Petrie is the only one of you who doesn't look tired by this point. And she at least has the grace to look apologetic. You are all beginning to show signs of wear. She pops the little map out of her ring again and considers it and looks at the sky. Okay, so we've got about 2 hours of daylight left. If you all can hang on for another 2 hours, I'll get us to a tree that'll take us the rest of the way. I know Esperanza, and she turns to Birdie, who is just... Fuck me, right? Cool. Okay, yeah, I thought it wasn't safe. We could have just fucking... Sure, Brona. I know the risks. But if Alice is stupid enough to come after my children a second time, I sincerely hope she has her last rites ready and has come clean with the Lord. Everyone is exhausted, including you. And anywhere we camp between here and Whiskeytown will be sitting ducks anyway. We'll just have to chance it. So, can you lot hang on for 2 hours?
Seba's trying really hard not to appear exhausted.
She looks at you and kind of takes a step in closer and just kind of like puts her hand on the side of your face for a minute and says, "Won't be long. Promise."
Okay.
I am gonna need one last constitution check from all of you, DC 20, to not take a level of exhaustion during this last push through the mountains.
I got an 18 again.
18. Okay.
Well, shit. That ain't gonna be enough. I got a 5.
Okay.
I got an
Alright.
11.
Dinah also does not make the save. Abe rolls a nat 20.
Hey.
So I think here's what happens. I think you begin this last push through the mountains, and you are all visibly exhausted. Abe takes one look at Seraphine, who is barely picking up her feet, and he knows exhaustion on your face in particular. I think Abe, who again was a ranger, and as much as he talks shit about it, there's something to that, slides off his bag and walks over to where Dinah's bag is hanging and holds it out and waits for it to also begin hovering. And then walks over to Seraphine and turns around and gets down on one knee and points at his back. Let's go.
Are you kidding me? What?
Let's go.
Abernathy, we're not doing a piggyback ride.
You're gonna fall down. Let's go. I can hear you over my shoulder.
Alright, so I just climb on for my little piggyback ride.
So Abe hoists Seraphine up onto his back, and Dinah's like, "Well, fuck, BD. I thought we were friends, but that's fine. I'll walk. Douglas."
Bean just breezes past Dinah and BD on Abe's back, and she just... she just waves and cheers. Very weakly, but she still waves and cheers.
Aubergine, you are wearing the new shoes, and it has been much more comfortable, but you do have a great deal of blisters as well, so you were just having a rough time just trying to adjust to being a Barbie girl in an outdoors world. And CB, this is just the most physical activity you have ever had. You're doing a very good job of keeping up. It's just you've never had to push your body to this limit before. So you are feeling a little bit more with every step, like, I am reaching the end of my energy. So everyone but Abe takes a level of exhaustion. Okay. I had to check something for Dinah. Has the natural explorer feature, which is actually the reason you've made such good time getting through the mountains with so little incident. Petrie's knowledge is keeping you all from getting lost, from being slowed down by the terrain, and is allowing you to move through the mountains without leaving any evidence of your path. The benefits of traveling on a gravel road rather than through the trees. Your clothes feel stiff from you sweating, and the sweat cooling, and you sweating again. You know you need a shower when with hot water and real soap, but you can't tell if the smell is coming from you or the person next to you at this point, so you've all kind of just agreed not to talk about it.
Everybody smells like outside.
Everybody smells like outside.
Just a bunch of stank.
It's bad.
We're all
Finally,
sticky now.
everybody's sticky.
We're
It's
all
bad. Finally,
I
Peter
have gone
says,
full overheated, cranky toddler on the back of Abe's.
that's the real reason that Abe picked you up. It's not because he was worried about your health. It's just 'cause he knew it was going to be bad.
Yeah, I'm just kind of holding on. I got my head resting on the back of his head like a tired toddler.
And finally, Peter says, "There she is, January, my dove. Would you mind getting Wisp and giving Birdie a little extra light?" And on cue, Wisp materializes over January's shoulder. He is back to his gentle blue glow.
I love
And
Wisp so much.
follows Birdie to the trunk of a thick oak like the one that you left, where she begins to dig. And about 20 minutes later, her face is streaked with dirt, but the tree's trunk becomes bathed in the now familiar green gold light and parts seamlessly before you. Next stop, Whiskeytown. After you lost.
I just pick up Ribbit. No, actually just send him through and I climb in after him.
Abe, carry me. Abe, help me.
I wasn't planning on putting you down.
I just wanted to make sure you didn't get any ideas about it.
I'm getting ideas about it now. Let's go. Come on.
Shh. Come on.
Yeet me into the tree, someone. Yeet me.
In the trunk, preparing to emerge, something happens that didn't happen last time. You start to feel cramped in this in-between space. First you're clustered, and then shoulder to shoulder, and then forced into single file by something unseen. Just when it gets truly uncomfortable, you are spat out unceremoniously from the trunk of a tree on the other side. Christ! Sorry about that. I forgot that point of entry opens out into the goddamned orchard. God, do you smell that air? Magnificent. Petrie stretches and is walking backward with way too much energy for somebody who just walked for as long as she walked. And she is gesturing kind of grandly around her. And as you step out, you're able to see that you are standing in an orchard of dozens of trees. And you can smell that the ripe fruit on the trees is there before you're able to visually deduce what kind of orchard it is. Nine, darling, I need your rippling muscles. And he grins and just kind of like gives a little hair flip and goes up to her and kind of scoops her up and hoists her up into the branches of the tree. And when her feet touch the ground again, she has her prize. CB, would you please roll a dex check for me to avoid getting absolutely clobbered by this piece of fruit?
Fucking Isaac style.
It was a run by fruiting.
Amazing. A dex?
Mm-hmm.
16.
Okay, that's enough. She hucks her prize, which she has breathed on and buffed on her shirt, and says, "Growing boy needs a strength circuit board. Have a 150-year-old apple." You remember these. I'm not even going to make you do a check for it. You mostly remember having green ones, sliced and dipped in peanut butter or caramel, but this is the first thing from the world before that you've encountered that you know. The apple is reflected a deep, deep, perfect red against the plating of your left hand, which clicks and whirs. Like the servos are moving almost in spite of you. January and August look at each other before sprinting for the nearest tree, where August plants himself and opens his hands into a platform for January, who just springs out of his hand into the branches of the tree, where she starts picking and dropping apples, which August collects in the big kangaroo pocket on his hoodie. And Petrie looks at you expectantly.
I immediately bite into it.
Attaboy. Welcome to Whiskeytown, everyone.
Amazing.
I know my children don't care, but perhaps you'd like to know that when it was founded in 1849, it was a gold mining town called Whiskey Creek Diggings. Purportedly, the miners drank a barrel of it today. She's started walking backward again, and her face is rosy with excitement, and she leads you backward through this high picket fence that's in surprisingly good condition for its age. This is Camden House, formerly the home of the wealthiest man in Shasta County. Aside from gold, Charles Camden mined silver, owned a sawmill, established a toll road, invested heavily, and lived to be 95 bloody years old. September is looking at her, just kind of like, are you done? And she goes, back when I first left Ireland, I worked here in the summer to pay my college tuition. When you exit the fence, there's a long wooden bridge a few feet away down a paved dirt road. Petrie starts over it as she talks, but she does turn around to face the right way, and you see that she kind of tests a few boards as she goes. Could you all please give me a DC 10 athletics check to safely cross the bridge?
Okay, let's see.
What's the
And
roll?
I do athletics, DC 10. I do want to point out, everything that I'm saying about Whiskeytown, it's a real place in California, and these are real facts.
I got a 22.
God damn.
Any of the research that DK does for this campaign, a lot of the lore that she creates is going to go on the website. And then she also researches stuff, because she's amazing.
I froze for half a second. What are we rolling? I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's just a DC 10 athletics. It's just to get over the bridge.
Oof, that's a 7. Your girl is tired?
Okay.
Wait, athletics, what's my modifier? Hang on. I rolled a 7 with my modifier. That's grand total of 8.
Okay. I'm gonna say that you're just tired and you're not looking where you're going. It's that kind of like Fight Club-esque, everything is a copy of a copy of a copy, where you're just moving without really any you're on autopilot. Yeah. So you just aren't looking carefully, and you step on a board that it's not loose, but there's a little bit of moss growing on it, and your shoe catches on the moss and slips and shoots out from under you, and you do very nearly go through the rails of the bridge. It wasn't a nat 1, so you do not go into the water. But you do bruise the fuck out of your shins. Just kind of like scrambling up to make sure. Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't be worried. Everybody keep going. I'm okay.
It's not until you're halfway across that you can see the reason for the bridge. It stands over a little delta of 3 creeks. They flow to the north, the east, and the west. And the creeks themselves are full. There's a few fallen logs randomly dispersed here and there that are moving under and past the bridge at a very slow crawl. Who would like to roll perception?
Definitely.
All may roll.
All is welcome.
My rolls have been garbage today, you guys.
23!
Hey.
11.
23, 11.
21.
21, okay. CB, on the opposite side of the bridge and a little distance away, the road is paved with gravel, and it leads to a low, whitewashed picket fence. The gate unlatches and swings open easily. There's a large yard, probably an acre or so, full of short, long, dead brown grass, and there are a few rusted picnic tables that sit empty not far from the aforementioned house. I'm going to say, just because your rolls are so close, you were just a little bit behind Seraphine, so you don't see the house as clearly. Seraphine, you are facing the same direction and seeing the same thing that CB is seeing, but just a little bit closer, with a little bit more detail. Camden House, you both see, is a sprawling 2-story affair with a high wraparound porch that's supported by a dozen or so columns. Seraphine, your roll actually totally checks. It looks enough like the house you grew up in to be a little bit jarring. The front-facing windows on the second floor could very well be Dinah's and Cecilia's and Joan's, and the extra brown-bricked eave on top you suspect to be an attic could very well be the room your mother cleared especially for you when you turned 13. You're almost certain that if you circled around to the back of the house, you'd see Abe's house in the open field on the other side. And as everyone else, crosses the bridge and sort of starts moving toward this house, what would you guys like to do?
I look at Abe and I point at the house and I'm like, Abe, do you? And Abe's like, yeah, it does.
100%.
And then I want to look at Dinah and say the same thing, like, holy shit, like, seriously?
Dinah points at the top leftmost window and says, I'm sleeping there. I don't care what it is.
I'm taking pictures.
I'll take the attic. That was my room anyway. But for old time's sake, I'll take the attic.
Okay.
Abe, you can go to your house. Bye.
I think I missed context, and so I looked to Seraphine. I'm like, I'm sorry, is this your house?
It looks an awful lot like the house in Harlan County. Yeah.
It looks like where we grew up.
Yeah, It looks like where we grew up. It's kind of jarring. Actually, it's like really, really strange. It's a weird feeling. Like I'm tempted to go up in the attic and go to that like little window and shine my flashlight out and see if Abe can see it from his bedroom window. But part of me also knows that Abe's house isn't going to be on the other side of that clearing. But
what time of day is it right now?
It's like late afternoon. It's not quite heading into like twilight or sunset territory yet, but you know that the day is getting away from you.
Cool. I definitely look for a basement. If there's a basement. If not, no big deal.
There's not a basement. Go ahead and roll investigation for me. For the outside of the house.
Are we in the house?
No. You're on the grounds looking at the house.
I just feel like a basement would be the closest thing to my hovel. Nat 20!
On a nat 20, okay. On a nat 20, you do not find a basement. You go around the left side of the house, and you do find not 100% sure what it is that you find. There's an axe, and there's a very, 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 very tall stack of what looks like cut up trees. They're all the same size and just stacked neatly as if they're waiting for something.
Hey, I think somebody killed a tree.
All of the Blight Brigade's heads turn as you say that.
I'm staring at this pile of wood and I shout back. I think somebody killed a lot of trees.
September actually comes up near you to take a look, and he says, "Oh, somebody did. Well, the tree was probably already dead. Well, this is Lock and Country. Somebody did kill a tree, but a very long time ago, probably. It's firewood.
Oh,
which means, you know what? Now that I think about it, Petrie looks up. Did they say that they had a fireplace? And Petrie looks back and she says, "Oh, did they say? Your sister has not let me hear the end of the fact that they have a fucking fireplace since they moved into this place. Yes, they let us know they have a fireplace." And September grins and kind of claps his hands and he says, "Well, shit. Okay, then we'll definitely have a fire tonight and warm the house up. Pete, do me a favor. Will you see if you can call them on the radio? Just see if you can get a beat on where they are." Petrie pulls a radio out of her backpack and says, hello, this is Petrie to all call signs. Efua? Hoku? We there? And she releases the button that she's using to talk, and you hear like a garbled transmission and then static. And she rolls her eyes and says, Efua, it's Brona. We're at Camden House. Are you near? Can you hear me? And there's more static, and she kind of frustratedly takes her hand off the button and puts it on her waist. I hate it when they go out into the lowland because they know that we can't reach them. We're gonna have to assume that they're out surveying, and just be careful while we're in the house. And you all are starting to see that, like, despite the health that Petrie is in physically, she is very tired. Just like emotionally, she is run down. And she is just, she's ready for a few moments of peace, I think. And he says, all right, don't worry. They know we come here sometimes. We are the ones who showed them the house, so I'm sure that it's fine. It'll just be for the night, and then tomorrow, we'll go look. So, let's be real. We all look and smell awful. Let's maybe go inside. And I realize that it's still daytime outside, but I don't know about you all. I could use a nap.
That honestly would be...
I'm always down for a nap. Not a long one, just a little cat nap, but...
I gotta rest my peats.
Okay. So, September nods at Petrie and takes you back around the side of the house, up the large porch to the front door of Camden House, which is this big oak door, huge, ornate. You notice it's an ornate handle. There's kind of a brownish green patina on it, but it looks like it was well made in its time, and September has to kind of fight with it a little bit to get the door open. When you enter Camden House, the first thing that hits you is the smell of dust. It's much stronger here than it was back at the visitor center where you started your journey. Thick in the air and in the walls themselves, like the interior lie untuned and untouched until your arrival. Especially when you see the things that are still in their display cases, but as you look around, it's hard to stick with that theory. The front hallway leads almost immediately into a foyer, which branches off into several other rooms, the inside of which you cannot see from where you are. But in the foyer, you can see stacks of real paper that are lying alongside floppy disks and CDs. There's a stack of books and notebooks in the corner. It's at least 3 deep in either dimension and dangerously close to toppling. There's a long, plain, but beautifully made wooden table that's littered with coiled lengths of rope and carabiners and arrows. You see coils of wire in varying colors and gauges, along with what might be some pieces of ROM. You see several cords that look like they were plugged into something at some point. A blanket that's draped over this really uncomfortable-looking settee in the center of the room, and most notably, the eastern wall of the foyer, which is the only solid wall in the room that is unbroken by a doorway or a window, is covered with a multicolored chalk mural of the United States that spans from floor to ceiling. On the mural, you can see that there are hundreds of things pinned up all over the mural in the different states, and there are at least as many thumbtacks that are holding them up and tying them to each other from varying distances with brightly colored string. And that's what you see as you enter. So are you guys fully just trying to go to sleep right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's been a long walk.
I want to see if I can look.
Aubergine actually wants to look for towels and or a bathrobe.
Okay, so that's what Aubergine wants to look for. CB wants to look for...
I want to look at the map and see if I see any connections that relate to anything I've researched in the last week.
Both of you, roll investigation checks for me, please.
Huh?
Seraphine, Aubergine and CB, please roll me an investigation check. I'm not going to tell you what the DC is. And then Seraphine, I think Abe sort of just like carefully drops you down in a corner somewhere and goes to check out the attic.
That tracks.
21.
21.
I got a 12.
21 and a 12. On a 12, you do find towels. They're just really, really threadbare. They will suffice for the purpose of a towel, but it's not going to be a luxurious hotel experience by any means. CB, you go up to this mural and you see that there are Polaroids, which you as Mazz know, and I don't know if CB would know what a Polaroid is. There are hundreds of Polaroids. There are newspaper clippings. There are scraps of paper. And on a 21, I think the first place you look is probably California.
Right, where Bella Muerte is.
Yeah. You
Right in Death Valley.
You see a couple of things. You see a picture of Neuron. His eyes have been blacked out.
Oh boy.
And there is a ring of thumbtacks in almost like a halo around his head. All of them have string tied to them that shoot off in different directions. Some of them go all the way to the other side of the room.
From him, his photo, strings that go everywhere, including all the way to the other side of the country?
Yes. I'm going to say that on a 21, you're able to follow the strands and follow the paths that they take, and you note two things. You note that number one, all of the notes that are around neurons seem to be regarding suppliers, seem to be around. The names have that same kind of drama to them that Neurons does. Everyone who works at his rinky-dink little bar,
Do I get the sense that there are other plague doctors or just medical suppliers?
You get the sense that it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Looking at the map, you also see that there's one area where all of the strings that are coming from Neurons stop dead. And they don't come within, a few inches of it on the map. And you see, does CB know states?
I think at this point CB would have done research.
Okay.
He knows of the country. Okay, so I thought everything outside of the Oxylox was dead and uninhabitable, but I know what the map of the USA looks like.
Okay.
We
So
sang
you
Texas songs, remember?
Yeah. Yes. You notice that nothing that is related to Neuron makes its way to Kansas. I would imagine you probably looked up where Seraphine was from once you started learning about states and about, because she keeps things pretty close to the chest. Not quite that area, which is called Black Bottom, but a little bit west of it and a little bit north.
So definitely around Harlan County.
Yeah. Oh, it's in Harlan County. It is inside of Harlan County.
So the strings stop inside of Harlan County?
They stop just outside of Harlan County.
Just outside.
Every single one that comes from Neuron. And as you're looking, you go over and you look at this area of Harlan County and you see Polaroids of people who look like Prithee and Hither, but are not.
So maybe other bishops?
Yes. They look very, very similar. There's a very strong family resemblance. There's a woman who looks like a much older version of Prithee, and she's standing next to a very handsome man with long, grayish white salt and pepper hair. Think like a Tim Omenson kind of vibe.
Probably their dad.
Yeah. and you see lots of pictures that look. You see a couple of the pictures that Gas showed you the other night too. You see a picture that's being created of this place being the hub of something, and there are not dozens, there are hundreds of strings coming from Harlan County, all going in an outward direction.
Just completely webbing out.
Yeah. And the last thing you see on that 21 is you see a little, it's a hand drawing. It's really easy to miss. It's on a Post-it note. A drawing of a canary.
Where is that?
You see that in California.
In California.
Mhm.
Near Death Valley?
Just in California.
Just, okay. Alright. Hand drawing on a Post-it. Okay. I take a picture of that Post-it.
Okay.
Actually, can I take a picture of the whole thing? I'll take a
Yes.
picture. Yeah?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you. Are you taking one picture of the whole wall, or are you trying to get close-ups of anything?
Gosh. If I may, I would like to take a picture of the wall of the neuron string stopping at Harlan County, and then that web, and then the Post-it of Canary.
Okay. Okay. So you're absolutely able to get those.
Cool.
I'm prepared to let you guys go to sleep if you are prepared to go to sleep.
Yeah, I think after that I just log all of that.
Aubergine wanted the towels because the lower half of her body is so fucked up. She wants to try and soak her legs for a little while.
Okay. But here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that you do not find the towels, but you go in as you are you're all kind of looking for where you're going to sleep for the night. September does go into one of the further rooms, and it turns out that it's a study, like a very old-timey study with lots of mahogany and teak and oak, high walls with shelves full of books, and there is a fireplace in the corner, and he starts the fireplace, and he sees you looking for something, and he says, is there something that you need?
I busted my ass and I'm covered in blisters, so I kind of want to do something about that situation.
Give me like 10 minutes. Just go hang out in the kitchen. I'll be right there.
I do.
10 minutes go by. You go into the kitchen and you see that it is a large country-style kitchen. It's got like an 8-foot island in the center of the room. And you see along another long counter, the counter drops off suddenly into a huge porcelain basin, which once served as the sink. September comes in 10 minutes later as promised, and he's got like a big cast iron pot that he's holding like wrapped in a towel, and he dumps what looks like steaming hot water into the basin after he puts the stopper in. He says, I'm gonna have to do that like 3 or 4 more times, so bear with me, but I'll be right back. And eventually it takes him about 20 minutes between the scalding hot water and tempering it with cooler water. But he does fill you like a big basin for you to soak from the knee all the way down in. And once like he pours the last bit in, he says, I'll leave you to it.
You're the best.
Okay, so you all settle down to sleep in the 150-year-old halls of Camden House that night. The walls creak and groan with the gentle breeze that flows under the bridge and along the river to the threshold of the ancient white house, where it is finally stopped by the large, sturdy wooden door. September found firewood. You know that the house is nice and cozy, and you slide into sleep. And this seems like as good a place as any to take our break, and we will be back to carry out the rest of our adventure. So hang tight, and we will see you soon.
See you.
We're back. So, when we last left off, you had all just gone comfortably to sleep in the very, very old halls of Camden House that night. It is. You know what? Let's simplify this. I'd like all of you to roll initiative for me, please. I just asked you to roll initiative.
Yes. Okay. Not 20!
Okay, so it was just to determine who woke up first.
Yeah, well, then
I
I'm
rolled a
definitely
9.
I got a 17, so I'm up.
Okay, so CB is the first one up at the sound of the noise. CB, where did you end up sleeping?
On the ground in front of the fireplace.
Okay. So you, and that makes sense because you're closest, you think, to the noise. You can either roll perception to hone in on the sound that you heard, or go see, or go wake up the others. It is up to you.
I probably wouldn't wake anybody up, and knowing CB, I would just go investigate.
Okay.
I would poke Rivet, too.
Okay. Rivet jumps to attention and his little ears perk up. He does dim his eyes because it's pretty dark in the house. You haven't really turned on any interior. You don't know if there's even electricity in his house. And he goes out of the study and cuts back through the foyer. And you're able to see through his eyes. And we'll get to what you see in just a second. Seraphine, you rolled a 17 and you're up in the attic. What are you doing about the fact that you heard a sound? Are you going to stay there? Are you going to go downstairs?
What kind of sound was it?
You just heard a sound. You're at the very top of the house, so you're not even sure what it was, but it was loud enough to wake you up.
Yeah, I start making my way downstairs.
Okay, walking fast, faces past, you're homebound.
I'm so glad you did it because I was about to, and then I was like, don't ruin the stream.
I ruined it myself, don't worry. When it comes to Vanessa Carlton, I will always ruin whatever is happening. Okay, so jumping back to CB, what you see through Rivet's eyes, you hear more first before you're able to see. And what you hear is the sound of boots scraping on wood. You hear furniture being jostled, and you hear the sound of metal clinking. Rivet makes his way into the large open foyer, and through his eyes, you're able to see that in front of the mural, first of all, there are lights on in this room.
The room where the map is?
Yes. There are lights on in this room. There are two big, almost like flood lamps in the far corners of the room, near the tops of the map, that are pointed down at the map itself. And in front of...
You said mirrors?
Floodlights.
Oh, thank you.
In front of the mural, you see Dinah. She has her knife pressed to somebody's throat. You also see that this other person has the barrel of a gun jammed under her throat. And the two of them are staring at each other. You hear, not to be rude or anything, but what the fuck are you doing in my house? Fair. Okay, I can see how that would be a little disconcerting. Petrie, in September. More importantly, is your name Fua? I thought I heard September say it earlier. And I realize that this is a hell of a time to be asking, given that I could cut your carotid artery anytime that I wanted. And he interrupts to say, and I could blow your fucking brains into the sky anytime that I wanted, so I'm assured of our mutual destruction. And at this, Dinah smiles and she says, I like your style. And she waits, and he says, if I was Ifua, why would that be relevant to you? She cocks her head toward the mural and she says, you know, I always wondered how you knew as much as you knew. And he says, excuse me? I'm getting ahead of myself. You and I have a mutual associate. I very much doubt that. Well, you shouldn't. Fisher never told us who his source was, something about journalistic integrity, but I should have figured it out. You're Lodestar. And he completely pulls his gun away from her face and he holsters it. And he looks at her and he says, how could you possibly know that name?
What was the name?
Lodestar.
Thank you.
And she says, I know everything that you know. Great. How? It helps that you're gathering the information from me. No shit. Jezebel. Sometimes. I thought you'd be older. Yeah, I get that a lot. Sorry, let me. And she she makes a show of taking her knife and putting it back in the holster and kind of dropping out of her defensive stance. Says, sorry, we ran afoul of Alice Ballard on the way here, so everyone's a little jumpy. God damn, I can't. Wow, I'd never expected I would actually get to meet you. Thank you, by the way, for everything that you've done. I don't think we would have gotten as far as we have if you weren't willing to do what you do. So, thanks. And she holds out her hand, and he takes it, and he doesn't shake it so much as they do the predator arm clasps, and kind of shake for a minute. And he steps back and he says, and I completely forgot my fucking manners. Baby, come here. And there's a small, there's an Asian woman who's with him who is small in stature. She's got kind of a honey blonde hair that's parted in the middle. Think like a very woodsy Devon Aoki. And she's got a big smile on her face now that she sees that there is no threat. Her hair is tied up in a ponytail. She kind of bounds over and she says, "Hi. Wow. Really? Jezebel. I have not had the pleasure of making your acquaintance yet. I'm Hoku. September's my big brother, actually. He doesn't know about any of this, so I would appreciate it if you kept it that way. You know, I vibe with that heavily. Let's all keep everything the way that it has been up to now, which is the way that nobody knows. Yes? I think that's probably best. Okay. Well, I'm sure everyone is on their way down here because of the bus. Ideas? I don't need to have ideas. I live here. I'm allowed to be here. So, how about instead of me trying to defend the fact that I am in my own home with my lovely wife, excuse me, I stoke up that fire and we have some food and maybe a drink, and you tell me what it is you guys are doing here. Yeah. I mean, I was hoping for more lying, but that's fine too. Yeah, we'll do that.
At the word they're stoking the fire, I immediately shuffle back to the fire and pretend to be asleep.
and they begin to move back out of the foyer into the study. Seraphine, you have reached the bottom of the stairs by now. The noise has stopped, and now you can't tell where it was coming from. What do you want to do?
Yell, what's going on? What was that noise?
Fair.
Gun drawn and everything. I stole my PJ, stole my jammy jams. Cause I get comfortable when I take naps. Don't judge me. And yeah, have my gun out. I see Loadstar's gun pointed at my sister. And I see
By this point, they have separated and holstered their weapons. By the time you get to the bottom of the stairs, you don't even see anyone.
Well, I asked the fuck was that noise? Because it woke me up out of a dead sleep. I'm a light sleeper, but that was a big ass noise. So I kind of look around, see if I can get some hints as to what happened. Because I'm actually really jarred by that. Loud noises when I'm sleeping. No go. Not a fan. So somebody needs to explain right now.
You hear almost immediately Dinah saying, "It's fine. I fell.
Fell, huh?
I fell. Yeah, what can I say? I'm clumsy. I fell." And she knows you don't fucking believe her. And you know that this is the only answer that she's going to give you.
I already kind of know because I hear an extra voice that wasn't there before. I'm like, so, did you fall into someone who lives here, perhaps?
No, but I was pushed by someone who lived here, and then I fell.
Okay, so let's double back to what you just said about someone who lives here. Who lives here? Whose house is this? Whose house are we in?
Oh, yeah. September, you have a sister who is down here also.
I see he's fully setting up now. There's too much commotion.
Seraphine,
Yeah,
Seraphine from a family of many kids is actually impressed by how many fucking siblings of people are involved in this venture now. And I just kind of go, how many fucking kids in this family are there? Every place we go has another one that's been fucking hiding. Like,
I just want to point out to you, like out of the canon, people have siblings.
no, I know, but like, surprise
People
siblings.
have like a lot of siblings.
No, I know, but like, finding out these like surprise siblings. I thought only I had the market on surprise siblings showing up out of nowhere.
Nah, man, world's a bad place. Seraphine, go ahead and roll perception on Dinah and
Loadstrack.
the situation.
Perception, you said?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I spelled Ifua correctly. Is it IFUAH?
EFUA.
Thank you.
I got a 6.
Well, if you got a 6, then you don't know what's going on. But you are able to kind of do like a visual pat down of Dinah. You can see that she's got a little bit of a shiner starting now as you are moving through the foyer into where you hear the voices coming from. And looking at her, there's a tall, kind of lanky black guy that's standing beside her. His lip is split. And the two of them are moving toward the big desk in the study, a few feet away from where CB was sleeping and is now sitting up. And Dinah looks up as you come in and looks down at CB and says, "Oh, right. This is Afua. This is his house. And we had a misunderstanding about who was supposed to be here right now."
Oh no, I saw the split lips and I gathered as much. Hi, Afua, I'm Seraphine. Nice to meet you. I'm sorry my sister got the jump on you and cracked you in the face after sneaking into your house, which, again, I'm terribly sorry that we snuck into your house.
I'd like the record to show that actually he pistol whipped me. Okay.
Well, you kind of deserved it, Dinah.
Also,
September said it was fine.
yeah, Petrie and September told us we could be here.
I know, but you gotta know. You walk into somebody else's house.
Oh no, His instincts were not wrong.
I
It's
immediately
kind of part and
think
parcel of what happens when you walk up into a black man's home. That's, you know.
I immediately think of when we came back to Valhalla and Roman was at Seraphine's kitchen table, and I'm like, I nod spatially.
So he wasn't
now
wrong to pistol whip you.
No, not at all. 100%. And he got me good. And he's thanks. Yeah, solid shot. So now that the confusion is solved, good morning, everybody. I hope you slept well. Do you want to have dinner breakfast?
Dinner.
Breakfast for dinner.
Aubergine is finally awake, and she walks in on the dinner breakfast line and goes, "Yes, please and thank you."
Dinner breakfast, and Dinah takes off. She is no longer interested in anything that's happening in this room. She has gone to the kitchen to get herself some dinner breakfast. If we were kind of
decide that that's going to be the new shirt, probably
dinner breakfast. Afua kind of looks out of the door after her and then looks at each of you in turn. Is she always on tens like that? Is that
dinner breakfast? When there's dinner breakfast at stake, yes. But generally, yes, she always hops about the bed, turns her swag on, you know.
That honestly, that tracks. That's on brand. Okay, dinner breakfast. Let's since your sister has invited herself into my kitchen, let's go to my kitchen.
Seraphine just kind of chants, dinner breakfast.
So do you guys go to the kitchen?
Hell yeah, there's dinner breakfast.
I followed Dinah immediately.
Okay. So you are right behind Dinah. She immediately she does not go to any of the cabinets. She goes and she goes, BD! Time. It's dinner breakfast time. Come help me. And the backpack comes floating from wherever Dinah was when all of this popped off. And she takes it out of the air and sets it on the large kitchen island and starts pulling things out of the backpack. And she pulls out a full set of cookware.
Friggin' backpack of holding.
And like spices. And like this is the first time you'll remember every time that a meal has been prepared, Dinah has gone to the kitchen to help. So she pulls out like all of her cooking utensils. And she has one of those stupid white chef's hats. Like the what is his name? The
Chef Boyardee hats?
Yeah, Chef Boyardee hat. And she immediately starts like setting out her pots and pans and like talking to BD like he's her sous chef. Like, okay, so I'm gonna need you to go find Petrie, and I'm gonna need you to go and get some of that ground grain flour that they have. We're making pancakes, but I know we don't have eggs. Well, actually, maybe you don't have eggs. I'm pretty sure I have eggs. Let me see what I can do here. And she goes back to digging through her bags, and she pulls out like a one of those egg warmer things, but there's like a thin layer of frost on it. She takes the lid off, and there are 3 eggs, and like a little waft of vapor comes up, and she says, "Never underestimate me, Douglas." And puts the eggs down and like starts making pancakes. She mixes the batter, and CBU watches. She starts like laying out the pancakes. She walks fully away from the stove. Or the little area that she set up for herself. And goes into what looks like a pantry. And she comes back out holding something, and she says, BD, get the good crystal. And she is holding a fun tool that I've had sitting next to my desk to use for later. She's holding a bottle that looks like this. It is a bottle of Applejack. She uncorks it. The bottle is dusty. She uncorks the bottle and takes a swig. Afua walks in. You and Seraphine, you and Afua come in with Aubergine as this is happening, and she looks him dead in the eyes and takes a swig. Good stuff. Good. Oh. Whew. It occurs to me now I should ask, how old is that? At least 150 years old.
Woof.
Dinah picks the bottle back up. Good to know. She carries it with her without the cork.
I can smell it from here.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. It is very, very strong alcohol. And she sets it down on the thing next to her and continues to make pancakes. You guys all kind of like filter in and find like places to sit on the counter, and Petrie and Micah come in and start pulling stuff out of their packs and like adding to the meal. And in about like 25-30 minutes, you have like a full ass pancake breakfast sitting on this large island. You don't know where the plates came from. You don't know where the utensils came from. You don't know where the cups came from. Where'd she get the little stove range that she has? Where has she been holding that this whole time? And she is steadily just sipping off the bottle.
Could I apples?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think you... Yeah, do you want to say that you like run out to the orchard with August and grab a couple, or you can even go to August.
Yeah.
Because he in January picked a bunch.
Because I want to like feel like I'm contributing.
Yeah, I think you go to August and get a couple of apples from him and bring them over to Dinah and just kind of set them down on the counter, I would think. Dinah looks at you and she goes just tearing through her bag till she comes out with a box of brown sugar. She says, I have an idea. She puts a little bit of oil in one of the free pans and throws in some brown sugar, and she takes her knife off her hip, and you watch her just skin the apple in one long curl. She cuts it into thin slices and she throws them into the pot or into the pan and just kind of stirs them around a little bit. And when the pancakes are done, she comes over to you specifically and she slides the caramelized apples out of the pan on top of your pancakes. And goes to get her own plate.
Would
Can I just make a note, like, out of character, that there are actually little camping stoves that you can get that are literally, like, only about that big, but they fold out into, like, a big, like, a actual, like, cooking rig that you can use to heat stuff up on, and it comes with, like, a little tank of butane or whatever the fuck. But it literally is, like, that big, and it just fits in, like, this neat little bag. It fits in your purse.
That's incredible.
It's tiny, so it's totally feasible that Dinah could have a little camp stove
That's
in her bag. Just
opens it out like an erector set.
Yeah, she just breaks it down, and then it just fans out, and then she can cook stuff.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Would I recognize this smell?
I think you would.
I feel like it would smell like my mom making apple pie.
Yeah, I think you would be. I think this is a scent that's incredibly familiar to you.
I'm so excited.
So yeah, you all sit around and Efua rolls his eyes at Dinah and at her very old bottle and goes into the pantry and pulls out instead 2 dusty bottles of wine. Seraphine, you are able to see on the label, the bottle's labeled like 1817. It's good shit. And he goes around and he sort of checks with all of you silently and pours a little bit of wine for everyone. And you sit down with your wine and your pancakes in the kitchen of this home that you broke into because somebody told you that it wasn't breaking in. And as you're sitting around, Efua, chewing thoughtfully on his pancakes, looks at all of you and says, so not that this isn't a Hallmark moment, but what the fuck are you doing in my house? Just you're welcome to stay. I just would like to know how we got here.
With a big old mouthful of pancake, Aubergine is like, we're having dinner breakfast. What do you think?
I just look at September and Petrie.
September?
I was going to say, as I'm pouring syrup onto my pancakes, I don't even look at anybody, especially Dinah, as I say, well, I think since Dinah was the one who split our host's lip, I think that you should be the one to explain how we ended up in this gentleman's home. Dinah, floor is yours.
Judas. Fine.
But what a hell of a Last Supper, though, Dinah. Thank you for the pancakes.
You're welcome. This is my body. This is my bread.
These are my hotcakes.
These are my hotcakes. Okay. So. Nope. Hang on. And she like, she grabs the bottle and just. Okay, I had to think of a good answer. All right.
I can tell when you're stalling, by the way, so
yeah, I had to think of a good answer. So here's the deal, Ifua. The Black Mariah is in the killing jar on this coast. And before she can finish her sentence, he says, bullshit. It's been like 10 years. Bullshit she is. Has anyone that you have ever met even remotely related to me lied to you? "10 years is a long fucking time, Jezebel." I know. But she's there. And we're gonna go get her. To what end, though? To what end? How is that helpful to anyone, especially her? Well, that's why we're here. Funnily enough, Neuron tried to blackmail my older sister into running a grocery run for him, but it's in order to make some kind of super drug that'll fix what they do. He looks past all of you to Petrie and he says, "Brona, first of all, let me clarify. I'm not asking because I feel threatened or even particularly upset. From what I know of your sister, Miss St. Marie, this is pretty low-key, all things considered." Dinah kind of nods. I'm more just confused. For us to get visitors, for the entire brigade to come up here, what are the ingredients? And Brona looks up and smiles but kind of sighs at the same time and says, "We need to get resurrection." Of fucking course you do. Cool. Yeah. Babe? Hoku looks at him. She's sitting between September and Ifua and is dwarfed by both of them. And she finishes chewing the mouthful that she's chewing and she looks around the table. She looks at Ifua and she grins and she says, as she turns back to you, she says, "That's tomorrow morning."
Yeah. I'm ready to leave yesterday.
Get on. We're running out of time.
Can I say exactly how many hours we have left? Because I'm that attentive to detail.
The good news is that you're in the right place and we know where to find it. The bad news is that resurrection moss grows at the very top of the waterfalls of Whiskeytown. After a tough hike and a 700-foot climb up a damp cliff face. There are platforms for tourist viewing, but when the Park Service collapsed, they stopped sending people to maintain them and their safety is questionable. We can absolutely do it. We will take you first thing in the morning, but do be watchful and do be aware of the danger.
Is a waterfall what I think it is? Just
Larger.
falling.
Larger than you think it is. The size of a building.
Oh.
I finally stop eating and I look up at Afu and I go, Danger's my middle name. Just kidding, it's Elizabeth, but we're still going.
Efua looks you dead in the eyes and says, actually, I knew that.
I just squint at him, I don't say anything.
Okay, well, then I guess it is a good thing that we are eating and drinking merrily, since one of us could fall off a cliff tomorrow. I'm gonna go. Is anyone sleeping in our room? None of you are sleeping in the room. September gets up and says, no. Everyone kind of naturally picked places that were not your private bedroom, so you guys are good.
I'm in the attic, so...
I point to the ground in front of the fireplace.
Jesus Christ, let me get you some fucking blankets. We'll be right back. And he pushes back from the table, and Hoku follows him, and they come back a few minutes later with blankets and pillows and all the stuff that Aubergine didn't find because it was in their bedroom, and you guys did not get up to the second floor to search. This should be a little bit more comfortable. Tomorrow's gonna suck, so we should get some good rest tonight while we can. So they do eventually excuse themselves to go to sleep. After, exchanging hugs with the Flannery Kakoas, and just, you get the sense that they don't see each other very often, but they are very, very fond of each other, and Efua and Hoku are important members of the Blight Brigade. They just live far away. So, is there anything that you guys would like to do before you go back to sleep, or do you guys want to just move to the next morning?
I'd like to take a shower.
Yeah, there's electricity now, so...
I want to send Rivet upstairs. Just a look around, because I've never seen a house this big before.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna clog everything and then bunker down.
Okay. Aubergine?
Shower.
Okay. And I'm gonna say the house is plenty big, so you're both able to get your showers in at the same time. The water pressure is great. The water is hot, and you notice it doesn't feel like the water in Bella Muerte. It doesn't feel like hard water. It feels like clean water that's being pumped, even though the pipes are old.
Oh, they got that country water.
Mm-hmm. And CB, roll investigation for me. 16. On a 16, you don't go into their bedroom, but you do go into a bedroom. You see, it's a simple room. The bed is like a large 4-poster bed with kind of moth-eaten drapery. It's clean. And there's a vanity table against one of the walls. On the vanity table, you see like a big, beautiful old perfume bottle that looks like there might be enough for one use left in it. And then you see there's also a display case in this room. It's got a violin. You recognize it from when you met the Black Mariah and she played her song to open the gates. But it looks kind of beat up and it's missing a few strings. It looks its age. You also note that inside of it there is a particularly stunning. It looks kind of like a stick to you, but it looks like a stick, but it also kind of looks like January's bow.
I'm assuming like for Mazz, it's the violin bow.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the outer edge, the part that is the bow itself, is completely gilded. It's inlaid with bits of silver and gold and other precious metals. It looks, at the very least, very expensive.
Do I feel like this is actually the Black Mariah's violin, or just a really nice one?
You feel like the violin has been here as long as the house, and the bow probably too, but the bow is what gets your attention. Probably because it looks like the one that Mariah had, but it's much, much fancier.
I take pictures, and
Okay.
I send them to Aubergine. Do I find like anything else?
In that room, that is all that you find. You are you.
Sorry. Can I also take the perfume?
Yes,
Yay.
yes, you can take the perfume.
Okay.
So you take the perfume and you send the photos to Aubergine. On this floor, it's mostly like bedrooms and bathrooms. So 2 of the bathrooms are being used by Seraphine and Aubergine, and Afua and Hoku have moved all the way down to the very end of the hall to one of the bedrooms.
First thing in the morning before anybody wakes up, I'm gonna take a shower, so I'm not worried about that.
Okay. A lot of the bedrooms are still empty. It doesn't look like a lot of people live here. It does look like it's just the 2 of them. So you don't find a whole lot on this floor, but you do find those 2 things.
Cool. I wanna. Do I know where Seraphine's staying? Up in the attic?
Seraphine, did you tell everyone where you were going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as we came in the house the first time.
I go back downstairs, but I send Rivet upstairs and put the perfume bottle next to where Seraphine is sleeping, and then I send Rivet back downstairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's precious.
Yeah.
So Seraphine and Aubergine, you guys exit your showers just feeling like $1 million, just feeling amazing. You're full of wine and pancakes. You're clean. Afua and Hoku provided soap for you. And Seraphine, you come back into your room. Abe is waiting impatiently by the door for his turn to take a shower and is gone before you can even really acknowledge him. And you do see that on your nightstand there is a small, very old heart-shaped bottle with like an atomizer puff on it. Yeah, it wasn't there when you left, but it's there now.
This for me.
Marks from the door.
Huh?
I think. Sorry.
Rivet barks from the door until Seraphine looks at him and then immediately looks away.
Aw, buddy. Aw, thanks, Rivet.
And so now you know who it is from, Seraphine.
I'm gonna make a note to try to find him something nice when we're out and about, like a nice, I don't know what robotic dogs enjoy. CB, what does your dog enjoy?
A nice stick.
I kind of want to find him like his own tiny crowbar to take around in his teeth.
His own tiny robotic what?
His own tiny crowbar.
I'll see what I can find while we're out and about.
All right.
Wholesome as hell.
You, Seraphine, as you pick up the bottle, can you describe to me what your ideal perfume would smell like?
My ideal perfume? It's like a little bit, it's like a fusion between White Diamonds by Liz Taylor and Rebel Fleur by Rihanna. So it's got that like sweetness of the Rihanna one underneath, but the Liz Taylor, like the White Diamonds comes through, and it's just like kind of like Sparta kicking a door in wearing a pair of really expensive heels. People just can't miss it. And yeah, it's kind of sharp and spicy at the beginning, but like when it dries down, it's like a really soft, like I just want to hug you kind of smell, because it smells really, really good, and it lingers and it gets on everything.
Is what the inside of the bottle smells like. And like I said, it looks like there's just enough for one more use inside of this bottle. I implore you not to spray this bottle now.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to spray it now.
Okay.
No. I'm going to smell it and then just kind of realize how special it is, and then just kind of tuck it away in my bag. And we'll revisit that later.
Aubergine, you get out of the shower and open your compact the way one does when it's time to change the shower music. And you have messages from CB, and you see an absolutely beautiful violin bow.
Message. CB back and I say, thanks, bud, and I send a little heart emoji.
I wasn't sure if this would be comforting or not, but it just looked familiar. So, and then I also sent her those list of names. Also, this is information I found out about some wild shit earlier.
Once I get to the list of names, I am overwhelmed and I'm like, we can talk about this in the morning, and I close my compact.
CB never expects anybody to read the stuff he sends them immediately and respond immediately. He just has a habit of just sending people shit.
I found this for you. Okay.
Here you go.
So you guys go back to sleep. Yeah?
Yeah, it's bedtime.
This time, there is no further incident throughout the night. You all sleep peacefully through the night. There will be no rolling of initiative. There'll
be no punching our hosts, Dinah.
Tell me what to do. Go to sleep. I'll be back. And she takes the bottle of Applejack and she goes outside. As you are all going to sleep. The next morning, after you've all kind of gone through your morning routine, Aubergine's done her skincare routine, and Seraphine and Ava fought each other for the first shower. Like a little bit literally too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Petrie and Dinah and Hoku prepared like a similar. It's pancakes again. It was more pancakes. There are a lot of pancakes.
Surprise! It's pancakes.
Yeah, surprise! It's pancakes again. We're back. Some of them have apples in them this time. Some of them are prepared with spiced apples. There's a lot. It's pancakes and apples. Pancakes and applesauce, guys. That's all we've got.
Don't put those on my plate. Just give me regular pancakes.
There's already a plate sitting where you were sitting last night of just plain pancakes with like the standard sized pat of butter and like a drizzle of syrup and a note next to it that says, "You're boring."
Seraphine just sits down and says, "Efficient," as she grabs her fork and just starts digging into her pancakes.
You guys head out after everything's packed up. Do you guys want to leave your stuff here, or are you taking your packs with you? What's the vibe?
CB never leaves without his stuff. He takes his stuff.
Yeah, I don't leave without my stuff either. You never know what you're gonna need.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen outside.
I want to go to Petrie and ask if she could send me the topographical map from earlier.
I don't know if it'll work on your device yet.
Okay.
Let me talk to Birdie and see what we can do. But I think we should be able to give you at least the technology.
Cool.
She sends you. It's from like an actual handheld tablet. She sends you a topographical map. It's not quite as clear as the one that is projected, but it shows you the area for about 20 miles outside of where you are.
I mostly wanted it for like memory book's sake.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Cool. You are led back over the bridge, and in the highlight of the early morning, because it is very early, you guys set out not quite at sunrise, but not a whole long while after. You can see that there are like hints of glitter in the water of the creeks that are moving underneath the bridge, and they're more than the reflections of the sun. As a matter of fact, Forsythia actually pipes up, and she points and says, "You got gold, some tin, a little bit of pyrite mixed in with the gold. You'd think they would have mined these hills dry the way they were digging, but nature prevails and heals herself. It's incredible what can be survived, isn't it?" And then she just kind of like loops her arms through Atlas's with like just a very genteel smile, and she falls silent again. You are led through a comparatively large neighborhood of stately farmhouses. CB on the map, you can see that this is the Tower House district. It was just an old, wealthy neighborhood. You are all, and then as you come out of the Tower House district, it opens up into a long and winding trail that backs up into a thin wood. Really quickly, I'm going to check something. As you are walking down this trail, Afua kind of cranes his neck over his shoulder or his head over his shoulder and says, "Be careful where you step. Sometimes these trails have like old bear traps on them. I've been caught in one before, and I wouldn't repeat the experience."
You seem like a man that's been caught in a bear trap. I don't know what made me think that, but you just seem like a dude that's been caught in a bear trap.
Weirdly, I appreciate that.
I'm glad.
I already got one chunk taken out of me this trip. I'm not aiming for two.
Okay. So, is it safe to assume that you are all moving carefully as you proceed?
Carefully but quickly.
Carefully or quickly?
Oh shit. Carefully and gingerly.
Well, because you're either being slow and careful, or you're just trying to get down this path.
Yeah, no. Carefully
Okay.
and gingerly.
It doesn't cost you a lot of time. It's not a particularly insanely long trail. You just kind of have to actually focus on where you're walking rather than the scenery or each other necessarily.
Gotcha.
You're still able to talk and all of that stuff. You just have to just be looking where you're going. The path that you are on after probably about 10 minutes of just like carefully picking your way through this trail until you see Afua lose some of the tension in his shoulders. The path carries you into a low canyon where the path trails perpendicular to a water drainage ditch that's angled uphill at a slow incline, but a very steep angle. It is the only way out of this canyon. How would you like to proceed?
I'm going to pretend to jump on Abe's back. Abe, carry me up this thing.
Abe dropped into action when he felt like hands on his shoulders. He like dropped. So it's only a few seconds before he like scoops you to make sure that you're actually secure. It's all right.
Oh, I'm joking. I can totally make it on my own. I was just trying to be a dick. But if you want to carry me up this incline, please, by all means, Abernathy.
Well, I think at the very least I should take Aubergine.
Yeah, her little feet are all beat up. Here, I'm gonna shimmy on. I'm gonna shimmy on down, and then let Aubergine climb onto Abe's back because I can make it on my own. I'm okay.
Abe does turn to Aubergine and says, "Yeah, it's not like a forced piggyback ride or anything. You don't have to. Just the option is there."
This is a consensual piggyback ride. There's no funny business happening. I get
Excellent. It. Perfect.
All business. Just get so. He's just a human Uber. He's a Huber.
All business.
I use my crowbar as like a walking stick, and I just start going.
Okay. So that actually worked out very well because Aubergine, your feet are busted, and it would have been a rough time for you getting up this incline. All of you, roll me a d20 for an athletics check, except for Aubergine because I'm gonna roll for 8.
Okay.
Rolling again? I'm sorry?
An athletics check.
22.
I just got an 11.
Okay. So it's the normal amount of hard for you. It's the normal amount of hard that it would be for a person who is not used to climbing at this angle. CB is the crowbar gives you perfect leverage, so you're able to just kind of like plant it and pull yourself to it and continue up the incline that way. Abe rolled an 18. Aubergine, it's a fairly like smooth ride up this incline, despite like how deep it is. He goes a little bit slower than everybody else, and he takes time to really see where he's planting his feet before he steps. but he's mostly using his and your momentum to carry you forward in like large bounds up this hill. And eventually, you all get to the top of it. You get over the incline. You are covered in dirt and scrapes, and you are met with the sight of an even steeper hill.
Oh, shit.
Just on we go.
On we go, man.
I look at the
Abe,
mountain.
you want to trade, and I'll carry Aubergine or CV or someone?
I look at the mountain, I sigh, and I just keep going.
Look, here's what we'll do. I will carry Aubergine since I already have her, and if anybody else gets hurt, you carry them.
Sounds good. And then
That
BD,
way, if something happens, your hands are free. One of us should have our hands free.
yeah, and then BD can just carry my backpack.
It does, like, you feel like a very, very gentle tugging on your backpack strap before the strap slowly slides down off of one of your shoulders, and then the other one slides down, and you do watch as it looks like someone who is not there puts this backpack, actually, Dinah's backpack is on Dinah for once. Dinah is wearing her backpack. So you do see that it looks like someone is putting on your rucksack, and it just hovers there.
Thanks, Big Douglas.
Can I check in to see how August and January are doing? I just kind of turn to see where they are.
Yeah, they're sweaty and dirty, but having a great time. This is like a family vacation for them. So it's very much like August showing off, like pointing out the different animals that he can see, because there are small animals here.
Oh, I'm listening so attentively to that.
Yeah, he's pointing out like different tracks that he sees in the mud as September quizzes him. While January, Petrie has just kind of her arm looped around January's shoulders, and January has her head on Petrie's shoulder. And the two of them are proceeding up the hill this way until the hill, like the incline, gets really, really steep. And they seem to be talking quietly, but they seem like the events of the last couple of days have only strengthened them as a family, and that this is a very nice and very lucky reprieve for them after the day that you guys had yesterday.
Cool.
But it doesn't feel closed off by any means. Like if August sees you looking, he will probably gesture you over to also hear what he's saying.
Cool, I like this. I like this a lot.
So you proceed to hike nearly 2 miles to the northeast of Canyon House. It's almost entirely uphill. It is on damp, densely packed earth that gives just a little when you put the fullness of your weight down onto it. There are thin, like reedy conifer trees that you have to weed through and around on the way, with very thick, healthy roots that are stretching out and poking out of the ground just enough to be tempting, but break beneath your grip if you try and grab onto them for balance. Finally, you reach the plateau of the Waterfalls of Whiskeytown. It's about 10 in the morning. The sky is clear and perfectly blue, and the air is crisp and cold. The falls are... Circuit board, you have never seen anything like this. Hundreds of feet above where you stand, there is a massive cliff face with gushing falls of water that are feeding steadily off of the edge, and like little inlets and coves that are carved into the rock behind the waterfall by weather and water and time. And you see the platform that Afuo mentioned. It's at the top, 700 feet up. How would you guys like to collect the moss?
700?
Mm-hmm.
700.
700.
700.
Rivet
could go, but you would have to keep that same, like, you would have to
Yeah.
keep at the edge of that range.
Yeah. Can I say this like a... How difficult does it look to climb up?
It looks... You don't know a lot about what's happening in front of you, but it looks fairly treacherous. You can see where there would be footholds, pretty clearly, but there's also the water element that you're not so sure about, just things being difficult to hold on to.
I walk up to the waterfall and I put my hands under it and I splash my face and I look at it like it's a building I've climbed before. I look
Does
at Rivet.
Rivet have any like grabby tools?
That's what I was gonna ask. Do we have any grappling hooks or?
Let me check my pack.
He has like one of those little trash thingies, or like you used to use when you had to pick up. Yeah, you had to pick up trash, part of community service or detention.
What's in my thieves' tools? I have rope. 50 feet of rope. That's what I got.
50 feet of rope. You guys are trying to figure out like what you can use to get up this hill.
I have an idea.
Okay.
If this works, I tie some of the rope to my crowbar. And I see if I can. I don't know if that would work, but that's my idea as CB. That's an idea that CB would have to try to get up this mountain.
Wait.
To like use my crowbar as a grappling hook. I tie the rope to the crowbar and then I try to throw it up and hook it to the wall.
Roll. Okay. All right. I will let you attempt this. Roll.
This is absolutely something he would do.
I want you to
roll MacGyver.
Roll for stupid ass.
My special boy. My special boy.
Okay. Roll survival.
Fair. Oh, I gotta go back.
I'm gonna tell you right now, the DC's high.
I believe it should be. This is silly. What about, I'm sorry, survival?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where am I? Oh. Okay, 16. Not bad. I guarantee. I almost
Not bad. Not enough.
It's definitely not enough. It comes back and it hits me on the head.
The DC was 20.
Yeah,
Not enough.
It comes back and it hits me on the head.
To use a crowbar as a grappling hook, yeah, the DC was 20.
So I also have an idea that would potentially keep everyone safe, but still get the moss.
Power Ranger.
Let's send her to get the moss. We already know she can fly. We already know she doesn't like it when I'm stressed out. And this is stressing me out because I don't want to climb that shit. I don't want any of you climbing that. We don't have any solutions and it's wet. So she seems like the next best candidate, and she usually tends to roll pretty high. So we could like send her up there. She could fly, do whatever the fuck her magic is, go up there, get it, and then safely bring it back down. That way nobody has to risk themselves, and then we still get what we gotta get.
Down.
Send Kimberly?
Huh?
Love this idea.
Okay, so you're gonna send Kimberly.
I'm gonna send Kimberly.
Okay.
Roll for Power Ranger.
How do you? Well, I mean, she's there. She overheard your whole plan. She starts to get hot in your hand. Do you hang on to her? Do you put her somewhere?
I kind of turn her around because she was facing everybody else. So I turn her around and I'm like, look, I'm trying to work with whatever weird shit you do. I still don't quite know what you do, but I'm going to say this thing is really high. Nobody wants to climb this. I don't want to climb it. It's wet. It's gross. But we have to get this moss up there. So I really need you to go do your little flying thing. Please don't just hit the wall and then fall this time. I need you to actually make it up there to where the moss is. Like, right, like see up there? I need you to go up there to where that moss is. All right. And I need you to grab like an armful. Would you like a small toy's armful?
You all see the doll's head turn to look where Seraphine is pointing.
And then she points.
Actually, her little legs start to kick. Like it's very like slight. Only you can really feel her wiggling, but it's like she wants to be put down.
Okay, so I'm gonna put her on the ground since she's getting really hot now. So I'm just gonna put her on the ground, and then we wait.
Put her on the ground, and she does like a cool, like a punch and a roundhouse kick, magical girl transformation. And before her feet hit the ground, it is very slow and stiff because she is made of plastic. But she goes through this magical girl transformation, and before she lands the roundhouse kick, like right before her feet hit the ground, her limbs start to fold into her action, like her torso. Within a few seconds, you have your Megazord, your very, very small Megazord.
Pterodactyl!
She takes off immediately, going in the direction that you pointed.
Tiny pink little pterodactyl.
It's rolled a 17. So she, you watch as she ascends at a pretty good rate for a toy, all things considered. She ascends to the very top of the fall and is like facing it. And it's hard for you to see her now. That is how far up she is and how small she is. But you can just barely see a spot of pink hovering or kind of like swooping back and forth in front of the waterfall, like it's getting the lay of the land, and then it flies straight through the waterfall. Kimberly's gone for a minute or 2 or 5. You're starting to get worried when from above you, you hear like a very small splash. And at the base of the fall, where like it turns into like a little, like the creek or the riverbed, where it evens out essentially. There's like a little stick or like a thin branch of a tree floating in the water. Kimberly is sitting on it, and she's got her arms like this around a bunch of like what looks like green felt almost. And she floats right up. She floats like right toward where you are.
All right, buddy. Good job. Mission accomplished. Good job. You're all wet, so let's go ahead and shake you out. Good job, buddy. Is this the stuff we need? Is this it? Is this the resurrection moss? Everybody?
Petrie comes over and takes a look at it and goes, yeah, that's it.
Good job, buddy. All right. Everybody give it up for the Power Ranger. Pink Ranger, what's up?
Good job.
I take my little pinky and I give her a high five.
You absolutely get a tiny high five back.
She just has one arm and she's just like, thanks, guys.
Okay. So, at the very top of the waterfall, well, no, you didn't have to go to the top of the waterfall. Having come down from the very top of the waterfall with your small pink friend, who helps you through an impossible task, you realize you've been in the wilderness for 5 days, and it's been the wildest ass wilderness you could possibly have anticipated.
All I heard was the thing when you get on Thunder Mountain. The wildest ride in the wilderness.
Yeah, you guys have been on Thunder Mountain. You've been on Big Thunder Mountain. That's what's up. I do want you to take a second to think about what you've been through in the last 5 days. Circuit board. You made your first friend in 3 years. It cost you nothing. You have been given no reason to question that friendship, and you have felt no need to change to continue that friendship. It is the first time you have made a friend in the wild. Aubergine, you started finding fragmented pieces of something in you that you've long believed to be gone. You are remembering things for the first time in a long time. And while there is the sort of sour aftertaste of the fact that they are a memory and not your current reality, it's nice to have your friends back. Seraphine, you have met some of your old demons in these woods. And yet, Dinah and Abe are hale and whole and here for this batshit adventure. You have fought off an entire pack of wolves and lived to tell the tale. You have rescued a princess from a proverbial dragon, and that's nothing to say of the physical strain that your bodies have been under all this time. You didn't want to come in the first place, and from the minute you got here, the circumstances have been out of your control. And you have done it. You collected all of the ingredients on Ratson's list, and the drug can be made. Whatever state she is in when you find her, the Black Mariah can be treated for what ails her, and it's only because the three of you and a handful of friends risked your lives to complete the task. We are actually going to end here.
Oh no, damn it!
Here on the falls at high noon, with the valley below you, teeming with organic life, the rush of the water beneath you, and the brisk alpine air cooling the sweat on your backs. But by the time you all make your way back to Camden House with your prize, you will have leveled up. That's all, folks. That's all for this part of the season.
Oh man.
I am I should have had this queued up already. I am looking for the actual item card for the resurrection moss to send to you, so you guys can have that.
Yay!
You did it! Loisimos!
Yay!
That was good! I love this game!
Yeah! We did it.
We did
I just want to take a second to be really gross and say that this is the coolest thing I could possibly be doing, and I think 13-year-old me would be really jazzed. That I get to hang out with my friends on a weekly basis and play D&D and tell stories that matter to us. As much as I love D&D, I think sometimes it's a little hard to relate to an elf or an orc or one of those sick new rabbit folk. And I think it's dope that those of you who have been rocking with us for the last few months have given us a chance to test the depth and breadth of this reality and see what we can make it. And we wouldn't have a reason to do it if it wasn't for you. So thank you for hanging with us. We will be back with the next leg of the journey, which is the return to the city and hopefully the rescue of the Black Mariah. That's all that I've got. Is there anything that you fine folks would like to say before we go?
I just love you all so much.
Me too. I was just gonna say I love you guys. This is fun. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us, guys. This is fun.
This is my favorite thing. Thank you, DK. A lot of me do this with you. And Jordan and McGannon. Role-playing with you is one of my favorite things.
Yeah, thanks for writing a dope story.
I am really glad that 11 years of sitting alone in my room is finally worth more than agoraphobia.
This world is so bright and colorful, and every time I play this game with you, I'm like, it's like just stepping completely into a different life.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Yay. Thank you, genuinely, for giving us a platform to make this show. We get to have an imaginary friend familiar and a small robot dog for a familiar and a very, very useful small pink action figure for a familiar. And I don't know that I would be doing that anywhere else. So thanks.
Cool.
I'm DK or Abadonne, depending on where on the internet you saw me first. I guess I'm the DM. I wrote this, and it is very cool watching these people make this universe something that they are an actual part of, that gives when they push at it. There are a lot of things that happened in this campaign that would not have happened and that would not have become part of canon if they hadn't been here as live players. So that is very cool. You can find me at Abadarlings on Twitter, and I just feel warm and fuzzy. This is just a really cool thing that is happening.
My name is Mazz. You can find me on everything as Mazz Face, because my name is Mazz and this is my face.
I'm Jordan. You can find me on the internet at Lambert. If I'm not here, I'm hosting Blackness and Dragons. If I'm not doing that, I'm talking about pop culture on Smells Like Teen Angst. And if I'm not doing that, I'm at work or I'm taking a nap.
I am Morgana. I play Seraphine.
She also is my sister.
I'm also her sister. When I'm not here, I'm either slinging nails at Decibel Nails on Instagram, or I am designing and slinging shirts on St. Marie. Yeah, and it's just cool to get to hang with my sister and my friends, and play pretend, I get to be a big 5-year-old again for a couple hours every couple weeks. It's nice. I recommend it. Everyone should do it.
And we will miss you until we are back.
Bye!